You and I are starting a wild ride. The first day I returned to my filthy rich biological family, I was thrilled enough to lick their toilets clean 10 times over. Everyone thought I had lost my absolute mind, but in my head, there was only one clear thought finally. I have an excuse to go completely feral. I did not kick my biological sister into the wall just because she stole our father's watch and tried to frame me for it. I did not start a casual bonfire in my bedroom just because my so-called parents locked me in a dark, damp storage closet. And ultimately, I did not livestream myself dumpster diving in our luxury estate just because my parents refused me pocket money. I did it because my past life taught me one crucial lesson. Instead of internalizing trauma and torturing my own mental health, it is vastly superior to go completely unhinged and make everyone else miserable. At this very moment, my biological father, Arthur Lancaster, was fuming. It was nearly midnight, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs, "Bring my watch out here right now. You are the only one here with such sneaky rat-like habits. Before you came back to the Lancaster family, we never lost a single thing. That $1 million Patek Philippe was deaf." Meanwhile, my mother, Evelyn, looked at me with fake gentleness and cooed, "Leo, be a good boy. Just bring your father's watch back. We won't punish you." The fake adopted son, Mason, chimed in with a perfectly crafted mask of concern that is right, big brother. "We know you have never seen such an expensive watch before. Just give it back to Dad. We promise we won't blame you." I literally jumped 3 feet into the air, shaking my head so hard my neck nearly snapped, twisting my face into a mask of pure madness. I turned to the Lancaster family encircling me and screeched, Who said I stole the watch? Who saw me do it? Step up and face me. Watch closely." My reaction genuinely spooked them, forcing them to take a step back. Arthur's face turned beet red, pointing a shaking finger at me. "Leo, you ungrateful brat. Do you think playing crazy gets you off the hook? Hand over the watch." Acting like a lunatic won't work. But I completely ignored Arthur, keeping my face twisted, and howled, "Do not dodge the question. Answer me directly. Who said I stole it? Who saw me?" Chloe looked at me with sheer disgust. "Leo, who else in this house would steal Dad's watch besides you? We all already have Patek Philippe's, so obviously it is you, the poor little orphan." Hearing that, I dashed right in front of Chloe and delivered 2 crisp, resounding slaps to her face. Smack, smack. "So it was you, Chloe," I roared. "You are the one framing me. I am asking you, with which eye did you see me steal it? When did I steal it? Which hand did I use?" Without giving her a second to breathe, I grabbed Chloe by the shoulders and spun her around a full 360 degrees like a human helicopter. Enduring the shoulder pain, Chloe trembled and shrieked, "Leo, are you crazy? Let me go, you piece of trash." I kept shaking her, screaming back, "Do not dodge the question. Chloe, your silence is proof you are framing me, you wicked witch." After a few more spins, suddenly clink. A shiny object flew right out of Chloe's pocket and landed on the floor. Seeing the object, the entire room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. You and I both saw that coming, right? I picked up the watch and faced the stunned Lancasters. "Is this the stolen watch?" Wow, it magically appeared in Chloe's pocket. Arthur finally registered what had happened, his face turning an incredibly ugly shade of purple. Chloe went pale as a ghost. Looking at their expressions, I laughed internally. Just minutes ago, they were ready to crucify me. But now that the stolen watch was pulled from their precious daughter's pocket, absolute silence. Pretending to be utterly shocked, I widened my eyes and held the watch high. "Wait, this is the stolen watch, right? Oh my gosh, it turns out Chloe is the thief, and she maliciously tried to frame me. Police, I need to call the police." Arthur's face was now darker than a burnt pot. "Call the police?" he barked. "Do you think having a thief in the family is something to be proud of? No police." But I acted like I suddenly went deaf. I grabbed my own hair, bent over backwards, and wailed in absolute agony, "Chloe, you didn't just steal the watch. You framed your own brother. Why would you set me up like this? The betrayal, the heartbreak. I am in agonizing pain." Before anyone could process my Oscar-worthy performance, I bolted straight out the front door of the Lancaster mansion. The moment I was outside, I dialed 911. Then I snapped a quick high-definition photo of the Patek Philippe and posted it online with the caption, "Is this the decay of human nature or the collapse of morality? A millionaire's $500,000 watch was just stolen by his own wealthy daughter. The tea is piping hot." About 15 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up outside. I immediately sprinted over to greet them like they were my long-lost best friends as 2 officers stepped out. One veteran officer in his 40s and a rookie in his 20s. "Are you Leo? Did you make the call?" the older officer asked. I put on my most tragic face and nodded violently. "Yes, officer, it was me. My father's $500,000 watch was stolen." The veteran officer simply nodded and followed me straight into the mansion. Inside the living room, Chloe was nestled in Evelyn's arms, crying her eyes out. Lily, the eldest sister, and Mason stood by, gently comforting her. Meanwhile, Arthur sat on another sofa, dead silent. Seeing this heartwarming, cozy family portrait made me want to laugh out loud. Did they really think they could just sweep this under the rug? Did anyone think to ask me, the actual victim, for permission? I instantly unleashed a wail that could shatter glass. Father, the police are here. You do not have to be conflicted anymore. Let the law handle this. Justice must be served. After all, Chloe stole your $500,000 watch. My screech echoed through the mansion, freezing the Lancasters in their tracks. When they saw the two officers walking in behind me, their jaws dropped. Mr. Lancaster, please rest assured, the older officer said firmly, standing before Arthur. We will treat this as a high-priority case. Whoever dared to steal your watch will be brought to justice swiftly. Arthur tried to do damage control, but I cut him off, grabbing the officer's hand with a radiant smile. Stick with me to find out what happens next. The police here might be fast, but we're about to see how this family already caught their own thief. They caught her red-handed, leaving the cops to just handle the paperwork. Right then, he drags the officer straight to his trembling sister, pointing his finger. He reveals she stole their father's watch, shoving the evidence picture right into the cop's face. The thief and the proof are all right here. He demands justice, telling them to lock her up. The tired officer looks at the shivering girl, then at the watch, and sighs. Clearly, an inside job. Terrified out of her mind, Chloe clings to her mother, crying that it was all just a harmless prank. But before her mother can lie, he shoves the watch closer, shouting that she is far worse than a common thief. She is a toxic mastermind who tried to frame him. Finally, the father, Arthur, explodes from embarrassment, offering the police a painfully awkward, fake smile. He claims the kids were just playing a harmless joke, apologizing for the trouble while his wife hugs their crying daughter. She begs him not to be petty over a little joke, while the other siblings quickly join in the chorus. Seeing this united family front, he dramatically clutches his chest, throws himself onto the living room rug, and starts barrel rolling while wailing that he doesn't want to live on this planet anymore. He cries about being an orphan they always despised, while they turn a blind eye to his sister, framing him. Pay attention here, he rolls right to the cop's boots, looking up with huge, fake, tear-filled eyes. He begs the officer to lock him up, sobbing that jail has to be warmer than this freezing family mansion. The older officer sighs heavily, looks at Arthur, and warns him that parenting actually requires a little bit of fairness. Arthur's face turns completely black as he grits his teeth, telling the officers to leave because everything here is fine. He claims the watch was never stolen, dismissing them. The cop sighs, bending down to gently pat the boy's shoulder. He tells him that since the victim refuses to press charges, their hands are completely tied, before leading his partner out. The second the door clicks shut, Arthur spins around in a rage, roaring at him to stop acting crazy and get off the floor. But he just calmly stands up, brushing off his faded school uniform and elegantly dusting off his rumpled sleeves. He casually walks to the table, pours some tea, takes a slow sip, and gives them a chillingly sweet smile. He warns them that by tonight, the entire city will know the second daughter of the Lancaster family is a thief. Congratulating her on becoming an influencer, it takes 5 seconds for her to realize she is about to be socially ruined. Her face turns pale with panic while Arthur explodes, calling him ungrateful and threatening to beat him to death. He grabs a heavy teacup, rearing back to hurl it at his head, but before he can swing, our guy moves like a lightning-fast ninja. You might think he's going to attack, but watch closely as he grabs a knife and lunges. Arthur flinches, terrified of being stabbed, but instead, he shoves the handle into his father's hand and presses the blade to his own neck. He dares the old man to do it, screaming that a teacup is boring, so he should just slit his throat instead. His wild voice echoes through the room, absolutely terrifying Arthur until his knees buckle and he drops the knife. Mocking him for being too weak to even commit a simple murder, he yawns and asks if they are finally done. Arthur just gapes like a fish as he lazily yawns, turning his back on them to walk to his room. Stepping inside, the foul smell of mold hits him. He flips the light, revealing a tiny, windowless, 50-square-foot box. The only furniture is a single bed with a damp, heavily washed blanket, leaving zero space for anything else. Since his arrival, they forced him to live in this dark closet that used to be a maid's storage room. In his past life, he silently endured this misery to avoid being a burden, but this new version of him, oh, absolutely not. Anyone who makes him suffer will pay. He decides a little indoor campfire will fix the dampness. He marches to their garden, rips out their expensive rose bushes, and hauls them inside, putting on a dust mask. With everything ready, he uses the green branches to start a cozy little bonfire right on the floor. The wet wood sizzles, sending thick, glorious white smoke pouring out of his room, sliding right under the door and quickly spreading through the entire 3-story mansion. While the family sleeps peacefully up on the second floor, the choking smoke invades the bottom level where the kitchen and maid quarters are. As the smoke fills the rooms, Nora the maid is the first to notice. Terrified the house is burning down and fearing she will get fired, she rushes into his room, screaming at him to put the fire out before the parents choke and blame her. She desperately reaches down to grab a burning branch, but the moment her hand gets close, he instantly locks her wrist in an iron grip. She glares at him, demanding he let go so she can put it out before anyone else notices. Giving her a polite, deadpan smile, he says this fire cannot be put out, leaving her completely bewildered. He laughs internally, remembering how she used to yell, "But you and I know those days are officially over. All right, you and I are about to watch a guy who is completely done taking disrespect." Pointing to his moldy walls, he asks his maid, "Nora, are you blind? My room is damp, so I am dehumidifying it." She froze. That insane logic completely threw her off, and a wave of guilt hit her face. Deep down, she always knew his room was damp. It was actually her old storage closet. Keeping things clean was technically her responsibility, but she felt overworked. Since he never used to complain, she just ignored it and pretended everything was fine. But then, she never expected him to take charge by literally smoking the entire mansion out. If the family finds out about the mold, they will blame her. Terrified of the consequences, Nora immediately panics and backpedals, begging, "Young Master Leo, please, you do not need to start a fire. Tomorrow, I will bring moisture absorbers and ask Mr. Lancaster to buy a dehumidifier. Please, just put this fire out for tonight. I am begging you. Just bear with it tonight, and I swear I will fix it tomorrow." Leo chuckles darkly, asking, "Oh, so you actually do know how to fix it, Nora? Then why have I lived in this swamp for 2 years with you doing absolutely nothing? Is this really the standard of your work?" Meanwhile, up in the master bedroom on the second floor, Arthur and Evelyn were in their silk pajamas, getting ready for bed. Suddenly, thick smoke leaks inside, sending them both into a violent coughing fit. Stumbling out into the hallway, they find the entire corridor engulfed in a thick, blinding white fog. What on earth is going on here? Arthur bellows between coughs. What is Nora doing? Where is this smoke coming from? Before he can march down to fire her, Lily, Chloe, and Mason stumble out of their rooms as well, their eyes watering and red from the fumes. The whole family gathers in the smoky hallway, completely furious and confused. Together, they march down to the first floor to hunt the maid down. Downstairs, the thick smoke is even worse, painfully stinging their eyes. Arthur tries to act like the boss and roars, "Nora, get out here right now and explain this. Are you trying to burn my house down, or do you just want to get fired?" Now pay attention, because this family dynamic is wild. Evelyn tries to play peacemaker, while the other siblings immediately start angrily piling on. They complain that she is lazy and should be fired without pay. Hearing the loud noise, Nora runs away from Leo and sprints toward the entrance. But hearing their harsh words, she feels deeply wronged, and tears start welling up. Seeing her cry, however, only makes Arthur even more furious. "How dare you cry? Look at all this smoke. If we get sick, are you going to take responsibility?" Nora sobbed, her voice shaking with fear. "Sir, the smoke is not my fault," she weeps. "It is all young Master Leo's doing." Arthur completely freezes, wondering what his troublesome son is up to now. Is he not done causing trouble? First, he frames Chloe as a thief, and now he is trying to smoke us out. "Leo, get out here and explain yourself before I disown you." Back in his room, Leo hears Arthur screaming and the maid snitching loud and clear. But he just keeps tossing damp branches into the fire, completely unbothered. In fact, thinking the smoke is too thin, he throws in extra green leaves for maximum chaos. Do they hate the smoke? Well, they can just breathe more of it. Receiving absolutely zero response, Arthur feels his authority is being completely clowned on. He glares at the maid, demanding to be taken to Leo's room. Now, let's watch how this unfolds as the coughing, red-eyed family nervously follows behind. Reaching his bedroom door, the entire family instantly stops dead in their tracks. There he is, wearing a dust mask and happily tending to a roaring campfire right in the middle of his tiny room. As white smoke billows, Arthur shakes with rage, pointing a trembling finger. "Leo, you ungrateful brat," Arthur screams. "What are you doing? First the watch incident, and now you are trying to gas us in our own home? What do you want?" Chloe mutters that nobody let it slide, while Evelyn frowns deeply. "Leo, I thought you were sensible. Why are you acting like a complete delinquent today? First calling the police on your sister, and now lighting fires indoors. Can you not be more mature?" Behind his mask, Leo just rolls his eyes. This woman is a master manipulator. In his past life, she constantly weaponized the word sensible to keep him weak and docile, guilt-tripping him into never standing up for himself. Lily crosses her arms, demanding, "Do you lack basic common sense? You do not live here alone, Leo. Stop being so incredibly selfish." Then Mason steps up, playing the angelic sibling. "Big brother did not do this on purpose," he says. "He probably did not realize how much smoke this campfire would make. Now that he knows, he will put it out right now. Won't you, big brother?" Hearing this sweet talk, Arthur practically blows a gasket. Of course he knew. Look at him. He is literally wearing a mask. "Leo, put that out right now or you are dead meat." Despite all their screaming, guilt trips, and fake empathy, he does not even flinch. He waits for them to finish, then calmly throws another branch onto the fire. "Yeah, Putting this out is not going to happen, he says casually. Watching him feed the flames, Arthur's eye twitches violently. Remembering how Leo held a knife to his throat earlier, Arthur does not dare to step forward. He just stands by the doorway, screaming, "Why can't you put it out? Look at us, we are literally suffocating." Poking the embers with a stick, Leo does not even look up. Obviously, I cannot. This room is practically a swamp. I am just doing a little climate control. Is there something wrong with drying my own room? He finally looks up at their pathetic figures, coughing in their luxury pajamas with red eyes. Giving them a cheerful smile, he says, "Do not worry, guys. You will get used to it. Once you adapt to the carbon monoxide, it is really not that bad." Arthur is dumbfounded, shouting, "You are acting crazy. There is no damp room in this mansion." Hearing that, Leo instantly springs up, lunges at Arthur, grabs his arm, and drags him straight into the smoke-filled room. Before he can react, Leo slams Arthur's clean hand flat against the cold wall. "What the hell are you?" Arthur starts, trying to pull away, but then he suddenly freezes. The wall beneath his palm is freezing cold and dripping wet. Leo demands loudly, "Well, is it damp? Is it wet? Pretty freaking damp, is it not?" Looking down at his mold-stained hand, Arthur's eyes dilate in shock at the actual water droplets on the wall. "Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens when this reality finally sinks in. Alright, you and I are looking at this tiny 4 by 5 foot windowless room covered in mold, with a blanket like a wet mop." He touched the soaked blanket, and Arthur's rage suddenly flipped. He yelled, "Leo, why are you living in a damp closet? Does our family lack money or houses? Why is my son living in an unventilated swamp?" Just then, Evelyn and Lily squeezed into the doorway, and I gave them a cold sneer. Perfect timing. Let's give them a little sensory experience. I grabbed Evelyn and Lily, yanking them forward and slamming their hands flat against the freezing, moldy wall. They opened their mouths to scream, but the freezing, slimy feeling on their palms shut them up instantly. Staring at the gross green spots, they violently yanked their hands back, frantically wiping them on their expensive pajamas like they had touched toxic waste. I laughed coldly inside. They couldn't even handle touching it for 3 seconds, try living in this dump for 2 whole years. Well, pay attention here, my room is a biohazard zone. What's wrong with burning a little fire to dry it out? Or are you guys just being dramatic? Anyone who wants me to put out this fire is welcome to sleep here tonight. Let's see who survives. Arthur stared at my unhinged face, shaking with rage. But this time, his anger wasn't aimed at me. "Nora," Arthur roared, "get in here right now and explain why Leo is living in a damp storage closet." Hearing his terrifying roar, Nora squeezed through the door, looking totally miserable. "Mr. Lancaster, you can't blame me for this. I was only following orders from you and the madam." Arthur's eyes widened. "When did I ever tell you to put Leo in this trash heap?" "Nora, you have some nerve trying to blame us." Evelyn frowned, her voice soft but venomous. "I thought you were honest. Why are you shifting the blame now? I trusted you for years." Nora completely broke down, crying and shouting, "Sir, madam, you can't say that. When young Master Leo arrived 2 years ago, I asked you. Back then, the 3rd floor had just been renovated, so there were 0 empty rooms left. The 2nd floor was full of your bedrooms, so madam told me to clean a 1st floor room for him." Evelyn froze in pure embarrassment, but quickly tried to defend herself. "Nora, let's get our facts straight. I told you to clean a 1st floor room, not put him in a moldy storage closet." Nora collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "Madam, what other room was there on the 1st floor? This was literally the only empty space left." This blame game was getting boring. Since they had the energy to argue, the smoke clearly wasn't thick enough. I grabbed a handful of damp roses and gently threw them onto the fire. Arthur's eye twitched violently. "Why are you adding more fuel? Do you want to suffocate us? Put it out." Evelyn frowned at me. "Leo, I know you're not a selfish boy. Look, this fire is choking the whole family. You wouldn't just think of yourself, right? Be a good boy and put it out." I held a burning branch, looking at them with wide, innocent eyes. "Put it out, but you literally just felt how damp this room is. If I don't dry it, how can I sleep? You aren't selfish either, right? It's just a little smoke. Cough a bit and build some character. You only have to breathe it for a minute, but I have to sleep in this swamp. You wouldn't make me sleep in mold just to avoid some coughing, right? You and I both saw that coming, right?" Evelyn was left completely speechless. Arthur glared at her, knowing he had to solve my housing crisis today. This fire would never go out. "Leo, put it out," Arthur sighed. "Fine, we'll give you a new room. Big, bright, and clean. No more fires." Evelyn opened her mouth to object, but one look from Arthur shut her up. I pretended to be shocked. "No way, you guys are far too busy. I couldn't trouble you. I'm a big boy now and can solve my own problems. I'll just keep the fire going, no need to inconvenience anyone." Saying that, I tossed 3 more branches into the flames. This time, Arthur's entire face spasmed with rage. "No, it's not a trouble at all. Not at all. I'd love to see anyone call it a trouble." He shot a lethal glare at Evelyn and Lily. Evelyn froze, forcing a plastic smile. Of course, it's no trouble, it's an easy fix. Lily, who had been totally silent since seeing my windowless mold box, just nodded along. Even though she disliked me as the new interloper brother, she wasn't cruel enough to think a human should live in a damp closet. The Lancaster family had plenty of spare rooms. Arthur nodded, turning back to me. See, Leo, everyone agrees. Now put this fire out. Look at the smoke. It's getting ridiculous. I put on a shy, conflicted face. Well, if it's really no bother, I guess it'd be rude to reject your kindness. I'd hate to make you sad. Arthur pointed frantically at the flames. Yes, we'd be very sad. Now put it out. I just blinked at him, branch in hand. Put it out? Why? They all froze. Arthur's face turned purple. Leo, don't push your luck. We agreed to give you a room. Why are you still burning things? Are you playing games with us? I ignored his tantrum, tilting my head in confusion. Yeah, you agreed to change my room, but what does that have to do with putting this fire out? I still have to sleep here tonight, don't I? So obviously, I need to keep the fire going to dry it out for one more night. Arthur looked like he was about to have a stroke. Are you saying until you actually move into the new room, you're keeping this fire burning? Duh. I rolled my eyes. This place is a swamp. If you won't let me dry it, you're welcome to sleep here yourself. Arthur was losing his mind. Do you think I'm lying? He snapped. We're going to change your room. You've lived here for 2 years. Can't you just endure 1 or 2 more days? I can't even endure 1 more hour, I retorted. If you can stand it, you sleep here. I pointed my burning branch at the green mold on the wall. Look at this. Is this a science experiment or a bedroom? How do you expect me to survive without a fire? Arthur stared at my completely unhinged behavior. Remembering the knife incident, panic bubbled up in his chest. He took a deep breath, turning his absolute wrath on Evelyn. Get him a new room. A big, clean room. Right now. Can't you see? And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how they survive his next unhinged move. Evelyn is panicking about the smoke. But trust me, you and I are about to see this house layout completely backfire. The top floor is packed with luxury hobby rooms, while the second is strictly for bedrooms. That leaves only this windowless storage room on the bottom floor. Where can we find a bright bedroom this late? Arthur thinks for a second. Doesn't Mason's third-floor study room have a bed for when he gets tired from studying? Let's just turn Mason's study into Leo's bedroom for now. Evelyn gasps in pure shock. Where will Mason study? He is a top student. We cannot ruin his future. Outside the door, Chloe and Mason overhear the entire conversation. Mason looks down like a beaten puppy, hiding a venomous glare. But Chloe cannot stay quiet and screams from the hallway. She protests that Mason's studies are too important to sacrifice. But Arthur snaps, telling her it's just a room. Do you want us to choke to death? If you disagree so much, Chloe, then give up your private art studio for his bedroom instead. She immediately backs down. My studio is full of expensive art. If he takes it over, where will I keep my paintings? Then stay quiet, Arthur roars. Anyone else who objects can surrender their hobby room. Instant, dead silence hits the entire hallway. After a dramatic silence, Mason looks up with watery, red eyes. Dad, it is fine. Let Big Brother have my study. My education does not matter as much as his sleep. As long as he is comfortable, I am happy to yield. Arthur is touched by his maturity, but I cut him off instantly. Mason, stop the fake drama. Are you seriously trying to play the martyr right now? You are the adopted kid with 2 rooms, while the real son sleeps in a windowless closet. Pay attention, because this truth bomb hurts. Is giving up an extra room really a massive sacrifice? Is this family mistreating you? Arthur's words of praise instantly choke in his throat. Arthur looks conflicted. Outside the door, Mason freezes in absolute panic. He has no idea how to handle this new Leo. The old Leo would never dare speak up. Chloe immediately jumps in to defend her golden brother, calling Leo an ungrateful jerk. He is nice enough to give you his room and you mock him. Mason plays his victim card perfectly, telling Chloe to stop. I ignore their pathetic little act. Without saying a word, I throw another pile of wet branches directly into the fireplace. Thick smoke pours out, filling the room instantly. I sigh. Looks like I will be sleeping right here tonight. Might as well dry the walls. The family screams, coughing and running for their lives. Arthur glares furiously at everyone. This is your fault. He coughs violently, screaming at Chloe. Gratitude for what? I own every single room here. I decide who gets what. Why should he thank anyone? He turns to Mason. Are you really complaining about losing your study? Mason shakes his head in fear. Arthur ignores him and orders the maid, Nora, to clear out the 3rd-floor study and make it Leo's bedroom tonight. Nora snaps out of her trance, nods quickly, and rushes upstairs to get the job done. Arthur sighs with relief, thinking the crisis is solved. But you and I both know Leo is not done yet. You have a room now, so put out the fire. I look down at the flames and sigh dramatically. Fine. Since you worked so hard to accommodate me, it would be rude to refuse. I guess I can tolerate the top floor. Arthur's eye twitches, holding back a massive migraine, but he relaxes as the flames weaken. I look down at my lovely campfire with deep, fake regret. Goodbye, my beautiful fire. You worked so hard, but I must leave you now. Farewell, my burning friend. I pour water over the embers, finally letting Arthur relax. Go to bed, he says. Everything is taken care of. Nora gets to work immediately, moving with the speed of a caffeinated cheetah. Within 30 minutes, I am in my new room. It is huge, 300 square feet with a massive bed, but my cheap belongings look pathetic inside it. Just a blanket, some books, and 2 faded school uniforms. Honestly, I am pretty satisfied with this. 2 major victories in one day. I collapse onto the soft mattress and immediately pass out. The next morning, I look at my faded clothes and realize I need a new wardrobe. One issue, I am completely broke. In my past life, they claimed they would cover my food and transport, and since I did not need to make friends, they gave me 0 allowance. Meanwhile, his sisters got $10,000 a month and Mason got $5,000. I definitely needed a side hustle. At breakfast, the toxic trio was waiting. Still mad about yesterday, they completely ignore me, giving me the silent treatment to try and show their dominance. Like I care. I eat my breakfast, grab a giant sack from the utility room, check my phone charge, and head out. Time to get this bread, I yell out loud. They look at each other, totally lost. What is his problem this morning? Sack in hand, I step out and scan the wealthy neighborhood. There are 50 mansions here with 10 massive dumpsters scattered around. A single lap means I can raid every single one of them. Time to act. I log into my streaming app and start a broadcast titled Billionaires Air Dumpster Dives in Luxury Beverly Hills. The trash hunting starts, and viewers are flooding in. Stick around, because you and I are going to see things get wild next. Alright, you and I are about to dive into the wildest rumor of billionaire air digging through actual trash. Honestly, who cares if it is real? I just want to see if wealthy people throw away good stuff. Reading the stream chat, I adjust my gloves and dive right in. Welcome to the stream, guys. I really am a certified, genuine billionaire heir. Go Google Arthur Lancaster, the absolute wealthiest man in the city, if you do not believe me. See if he has a son named Leo, and look closely at the family resemblance. As for why I am digging through trash, well, it is a long story. Human traffickers kidnapped me when I was only 2 years old. I grew up in an orphanage and was only brought back to the Lancaster family 2 years ago. Since I have a working class background, they do not give me an allowance. I am a broke high school senior who has to hustle until my eyes suddenly light up. Look at this, chat. I pull out a watch and hold it up to the camera, grinning like a maniac. Check this out, a Dior watch, not even broken, just slightly used. Not bad at all. The stream chat immediately explodes because that watch is worth like $1,500 on the official site. Even slightly used, you could easily flip it for $400. Everyone is begging to buy it, but I just keep digging with one hand while filming. Selling it? Of course, but keep your $500. Give me $300 and it is yours. First person to message me gets it shipped today. Instantly, digital gifts flood the screen. They cannot believe I am giving such a massive discount, and everyone wants the next item. Donations start rolling in to support my treasure hunt. I am celebrating inside, but the rest of this first dumpster is a total bust. Nothing but empty champagne bottles and trash, so I quickly move to dumpster 2. Now watch closely. A few minutes later, I hit the ultimate jackpot. Look what we have here. I hold up a gleaming, pure gold necklace. It looks like a new Tiffany collection piece that retails for $800. The chat is screaming to buy it. I tell them it is sold for $150, but do not pay me yet. I need to make sure the gold is real. They call me an absolute legend for being so honest. Thanks to this absurdity, my viewer count is suddenly skyrocketing. The algorithm catches on, and soon tags about a billionaire air dumpster diving are climbing straight to the top of the trending charts. But while I am having the absolute time of my life digging through garbage, the Lancaster mansion is falling into total panic. Arthur is sitting in his corporate office reviewing documents when his phone rings. It is Richard Sterling, his biggest rival. These two absolutely hate each other. Arthur tries to ignore the call, but Richard keeps spamming his phone until he finally picks up to hear a mocking voice. Richard is laughing hysterically, telling Arthur that his son is trending online for digging through trash. He says he is literally crying. It is peak comedy. Arthur's heart stops, and he immediately opens his laptop to search the trending tags. Sure enough, screenshots of me half buried in a dumpster flood is— and yeah, I know what you were thinking. The rest of his family? Completely chilling, drinking tea like nothing was wrong. Seeing their cozy family vibe makes Arthur's blood boil. He roars, asking where Leo is and why nobody is watching him, making everyone spill their tea. Evelyn is instantly annoyed, asking why he is screaming the second he walks in. Arthur just lets out a hysterical, furious laugh. He demands to know where I am and what I am doing. Evelyn rolls her eyes, saying I am almost 18 and do not need a tracker. She figured I just got a normal part-time job moving boxes or sweeping floors, but then Arthur's face turns a deep shade of purple. Moving boxes. He is humiliating us. The entire family is the laughingstock of the city. He throws his phone onto the sofa. He tells her to look at what her precious son is doing. Evelyn grabs the phone and gasps, seeing me live, with my hands deep inside a dumpster under a wild headline. Chloe peeks over and her jaw completely drops. Mason pretends to look horrified, but there is a gleeful smirk tugging at his lips. Evelyn panics, trying to defend herself. How was she supposed to know I would choose to dig through actual trash just to make a quick buck? Arthur screams at her for losing control of the house. Meanwhile, totally oblivious to the drama, I am just having fun with my viewers. I make it to the final dumpster, already having found a watch, a necklace, designer sneakers, and expensive luxury perfume. My chat bought every single item, earning me a clean $1,000. I dive into the last bin for a grand finale and spot a pristine, premium orange box. I pull out an Hermes box and pop it open. Holy crap, it is a set of 5 brand new, expensive red lipsticks. The chat goes absolutely wild. They are worth $300, but I just laugh and tell them the first message gets them for $50. Everyone calls me an angel, and I am buzzing with joy. I am about to pack up my bag when a screeching voice suddenly shatters the peace. I hear her calling me a disgrace as she sprints toward me, her designer heels clicking frantically on the pavement. Her hair is a total mess, all elegance gone. She screams that I am humiliating the family and demands that I get home right now. She warns me my father is furious, but I casually ignore her and keep packing. Annoyed, she marches up to grab my arm. I swat her hand away and smile at the camera, asking my viewers if they want an introduction to my lovely family. Evelyn recoils in absolute terror of being caught on camera, stumbling backward. Meanwhile, my chat goes completely wild, calling her a Karen and telling me to ignore her. They want me to keep the stream going because this drama is a solid 10 out of 10. I just smile and reassure them. So stick around with me. We are about to see exactly what else is hiding inside this final dumpster. Let's jump into the wildest revenge story you've seen today. I kept digging, completely ignoring Evelyn, who stood 10 feet away, pinching her nose in disgust, terrified of the camera. Defeated, she whipped out her phone to frantically call Arthur for backup. Just minutes later, Arthur, Lily, Chloe, and Mason came sprinting down the street. Seeing me knee-deep in trash, Arthur wanted to charge and tackle me, but Evelyn yanked him back. She hissed that I was live streaming and his face would end up all over the internet. That made Arthur freeze in his tracks, forced to stand on the sidewalk glaring with murderous intent. I just kept digging, but this bin was looking mostly empty. But then, just as I was about to call it quits, my chat went wild. They told me to grab a tiny black pouch that looked like Gucci. Following their lead, I fished out a tiny, unremarkable black pouch about the size of my palm. I held it up. Turns out it was a classic Gucci coin purse. The chat said these rare pieces go for $200 secondhand, and someone immediately offered $100. I was shocked this tiny leather square was worth that much, but cash is cash. Sold for $100. Instantly, the chat showered me with digital gifts. I stared at the empty dumpster and smiled brightly. I announced to the stream that all the dumpsters were cleared for today. I told them not to worry if they missed out, because we would go trash hunting again tomorrow. As the chat begged me to stay, I happily patted my massive sack of loot. Watching my triumphant smile, Arthur looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. He tried to lunge forward again, but Evelyn held him back, pointing toward the neighboring mansions. Pay attention here, because this is where the drama gets juicy. Neighbors were peeking out, enjoying the free reality show. Arthur's face darkened as he pointed a trembling finger at me, yelling for me to get inside immediately. He demanded a serious talk. Evelyn looked at me with pure disgust, while Chloe stuck her tongue out to mock me. Mason pretended to look concerned, but his eyes gleamed with secret joy. I did not care about their dramatic circus act. I just stretched and complained that dumpster diving is quite a workout. I hoisted the massive sack of treasures over my shoulder, whistling a cheerful tune as I strolled right past them toward the mansion. Once inside, I ignored their death glares, carried my heavy sack straight up to the 3rd floor, and locked the loot inside my room. This was my hard-earned inventory for my viewers. I could not let these psychos ruin my hustle. Arthur, absolutely furious that I had not groveled, led the entire family as they stampeded straight into my room. Mason walked in, his eyes full of resentment at seeing me in his former study. I ignored them completely and just started organizing my haul. Arthur roared, calling me an absolute embarrassment. He demanded I throw the garbage out, asking if I knew how much reputation the family had lost today. Evelyn frowned, reminding me that I was the son of a billionaire now, not a street urchin. Meanwhile, Chloe pinched her nose, complaining about the smell. She called me gross, sneering that because I was raised in an orphanage, I naturally gravitated toward garbage. Then, Mason stepped up to play the saint. He lectured me that family honor comes first, telling me to throw the trash away and apologize to our parents. I gently placed a designer shoe down, turned around, and looked at them. I told them dumpster diving was tiring enough without annoying flies buzzing in my ears. I told Arthur not to lecture me about pride. In the real world, compared to cold cash, Reputation is worthless garbage. Without money, you die. Without pride, you just feel awkward. I prefer not starving." Arthur was so mad he was vibrating, screaming at me, asking when the family had ever let me starve or freeze. Let's pause for a second, because this is where the hypocrisy gets unreal. He claimed they gave me top-tier living conditions and complained about my audacity. Before he could continue, I held up a hand. I told him straight up that since I moved in, I absolutely lack clothes and money, which is why I dug through trash. Arthur's face darkened as he asked what kind of nonsense I was making up to excuse my humiliating behavior. I walked over to my pathetic closet, yanked out all my clothes, and threw them right at his feet. I told him to look closely at my entire billionaire-provided wardrobe. Just two faded, slightly torn school uniforms. Arthur was about to yell again, but then he actually looked down at the pile. He froze, seeing absolutely nothing but those two worn-out uniforms. Stunned, he looked at me and then demanded to know if this was true from Evelyn. Arthur rarely paid attention to domestic matters and honestly thought I just loved wearing my uniform. He could not believe this was all I had. He desperately hoped Evelyn would deny it, refusing to believe this was my entire wardrobe, but she just looked away, looking incredibly guilty and awkward. Glaring at her, Arthur tried to suppress his rage and interrogated me. He asked why I did not buy my own clothes and what I did with my allowance. Did I spend it on games? I laughed coldly, telling him I had never seen a single penny of allowance since stepping foot in this house. Honestly, the orphanage treated me better. At least we got new clothes every season and snack money. Here, I had nothing to wear and nothing to spend. I said I should have just stayed there, calling this place a massive downgrade. Arthur exploded, furious that I dared compare his mansion to an orphanage. He called me a liar, claiming every kid gets an allowance, even my sisters who already have jobs. He demanded to know why I would not. He whipped around to face Evelyn, yelling at her to tell him exactly how much allowance I got every month to expose my lies. Evelyn stammered, her face turning pale before she offered a weak defense, arguing that since my food and housing were covered, I did not need money. Arthur looked at her in sheer disbelief, pointing a trembling finger, asking if she had actually never given me a single cent. Her silence was all the confirmation he needed. Arthur was too stunned to speak, but he knew this was not the time to fight his wife. His priority was stopping me from dumpster diving and ruining his public image. He coughed awkwardly, trying to make a deal with me. He offered me a monthly allowance starting today if I promised to stop digging in the trash. He assumed I was doing this just because I was broke. But trust me, you and I know better. I waved my hand dismissively, telling him to keep his money since I made $1,000 today alone. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild ride where our main character is making $30,000 a month picking trash, and his wealthy father is absolutely losing it. Arthur gritted his teeth in disbelief. If Leo was pulling in $30,000 a month scavenging, fine, he would personally pay him that exact amount to stop. He just wanted the trash picking to end. But before Leo could even agree, his stepmother Evelyn instantly whined that $1,500 was more than enough for a high schooler. Then Chloe joined the whining, complaining that she and Lily only got $10,000, while Mason got $5,000. If Leo got $30,000, he would be making way more than them. She complained it was totally unfair. Watching them turn red with absolute jealousy, Leo laughed on the inside and mockingly agreed that it was indeed deeply unfair. He told them to keep their money and let him remain an independent hustler. But then Arthur turned to the girls, completely losing his temper and shouting. He challenged Chloe, asking if she could make $30,000 a month on her own. When she pouted and shut up, Arthur turned his furious gaze back to Evelyn. He declared a Lancaster heir deserved millions, so $30,000 was nothing. If she thought it was too much, he would just transfer the cash to Leo himself. Evelyn shut her mouth, since the cash was not coming from her own budget. Arthur looked back at Leo, offering $30,000 a month straight from his own pocket. Pay attention here, because even though he acts annoyed, Leo is secretly thrilled that his dad is literally forcing money into his hands. Getting 30 grand for doing absolutely nothing was way easier than digging through dirty dumpsters, and Evelyn's anger was not his problem. He agreed, playing along by saying he hated to hurt his dad's feelings since he was begging him to take the money. Arthur's face twitched in pure annoyance. Still, as long as the embarrassing social media videos stopped, the father did not care about the attitude. He handed over a sleek black card containing $30,000. He promised to wire the funds on the 1st of every month. As long as Leo stayed far away from the garbage bins, the money would keep flowing. But if he got caught digging in the trash again, he would be cut off instantly. Leo grabbed the card, telling him to stop nagging or he would go straight back. Leo claimed he only took the money out of pity. Arthur was utterly exasperated, but seeing the card finally in Leo's hands, he let out a sigh of relief and let his family out. With the family gone, Leo looked down at his collected trash and sighed, mourning his glorious recycling empire cut down in its absolute prime. But $30,000 a month was a massive win. Since his live stream had exploded and gained a loyal fan base, he could not let the account die. He needed to pivot his content. He wondered what to stream next, But first, he had to ship out his orders. He spent the afternoon packing up his loot and cashed in a quick $1,000. Exhausted, he crashed onto his bed and slept like a log. The next morning, he woke up late, cleaned himself up, and headed downstairs looking for some breakfast. But as he reached the stairs, a mocking, high-pitched voice echoed, asking Mason if the family trash collector was finally waking up. Leo looked over to see a chubby kid named Luke giving him a nasty look, joking about the early bird getting the garbage. Standing nearby were Vince, Tom, and Sam. Some snickered while others ignored him, kissing up to Mason. Suddenly, dark memories of his past life came flooding back. These guys were the sons of local business owners who depended on the Lancaster family business. Naturally, they acted like Mason's personal minions. With Mason constantly pulling the strings, these guys had relentlessly bullied Leo. Arthur had enrolled them both in the same elite private academy, thinking they would look out for each other. Oh, Mason looked out for him all right. He turned the entire school class against Leo and ordered his loyal goons to harass and humiliate him daily. It was purely cruel, non-stop psychological bullying. Constant verbal abuse had made school a living nightmare. In his past life, when Chloe framed him for stealing a watch, these exact minions spread the rumor everywhere, ruining his reputation and plunging his life into darkness. Remembering this, his joy over the money faded instantly. I know what you're thinking. Mason is trying his old tricks again by bringing his minions to bully Leo in his own home. But trust me, this is a huge mistake. Leo thought it was perfect because it saved him the trouble of hunting them down. Mason had literally hand-delivered these idiots straight to his doorstep for some target practice. But first, he needed breakfast to fuel up for dealing with this human garbage. He decided to let them act smug for just a little bit longer. He ignored the chubby kid's insults, walked into the kitchen, grabbed a plate, and started eating. Mason watched him retreat, feeling completely confused. This quiet reaction did not match the wild, aggressive Leo he had seen recently. Mason assumed Leo only acted tough around family and was a coward with outsiders. Luke whispered to Mason, boasting that he had totally roasted him without any payback. He assured Mason that Leo was a total wimp they could easily handle. The others agreed, calling him a coward and planning to humiliate him right here in his own home because it would be way funnier than waiting for school. Mason's eyes flashed with a sinister light as he quietly whispered his next plan back to them. Inside the kitchen, Leo finished his food and had a hojito. For his next stream, he put some ketchup packets in his pocket and hit go live. Instantly, his eager fans flooded the chat, asking if he was ready to hunt for more trash and joking that a well-rested streamer finds the best loot. Leo smiled at the comments, prompting fans to call his smile cute, while others reminded everyone that this was a dumpster stream, not a beauty pageant. He sneakily placed his phone in a hidden corner of the living room, angling the camera perfectly to capture the whole squad of losers sitting on the sofa. Then, he confidently walked out of the kitchen. Instantly, the malicious gazes of Luke and his crew locked onto him, ready to start trouble. Leo ignored them, knowing they would come to him. Right on cue, as he stepped toward the stairs, the group made their move. Luke led the charge, blocking his path with crossed arms and a sneer, demanding to know why Leo had the nerve to upset their boss, Mason. And that's where we leave it for today, trust me. You are going to want to see how Leo absolutely wrecks these guys in the next part. You and I are about to watch the ultimate payback. Sam sneers with a nasty threat, while Mason plays innocent on the couch, telling Leo to ignore them. Honestly, I hope they wouldn't apologize so they could taste real regret. But these weak insults? Boring. I needed to spice things up for my live stream. Glaring with utter disgust, I muttered just loud enough to trigger them. You guys are just lapdogs barking for your master. Low class, motherless bastards. They froze in absolute shock. Did I really just say that? Luke turned bright red, lunging to grab my collar, while the other guys raised their fists to beat me down. Perfect. I cheered inside. Everything was going exactly according to my plan. Right before they touched me, I threw myself backward, rolling on the floor like a dramatic soccer player. Ah, the pain. They are beating me. Murder. Assault. I screamed at the top of my lungs. While rolling around, I whipped out ketchup packets, bit them open, and smeared the red sauce all over my face and white shirt. It looked like a brutal, bloody crime scene. The bullies just stood there frozen, staring at their hands. We did not even touch him. Why is he down? Why is there so much blood? Mason reacted first, playing the hero by shouting, "Stop, why are you guys hitting him? How dare you strike my brother?" I side-eyed him. Not bad acting, kid. But today, I was destroying his minions. I kept barrel rolling on the floor, screaming even louder. So much blood, they are killing me. Suddenly, my live stream chat exploded with comments. The streamer is getting jumped. Who are these punks? Call the cops. I thought he was a billionaire's son, who dares attack him in his own home? Thanks to yesterday's hype, the viewer count was absolutely massive. The clip of me covered in blood instantly went viral. Upstairs, Evelyn heard the screaming and rushed down to investigate. And pay attention here, because seeing me in blood, surrounded by 4 dumb teenagers, she immediately realized the bad optics. Leo, brutally assaulted inside the Lancaster mansion. This was a massive, insulting blow to the family name. Meanwhile, at that exact moment, Arthur was in his office. Paranoid, I would go back to dumpster diving. He kept checking my stream. He opened it right when I was rolling in pain. Who dares beat Leo? Arthur roared in his office. Who dares touch my son? He recognized the 4 boys as children of his low-level suppliers who lived off the Lancaster family scraps. Arthur went absolutely nuclear. They had the audacity to break into his home and attack his son, but he would not lower himself to fight kids. He immediately called the fathers of all 4 boys, chewing them out and ordering them to get over to the mansion right now. Then he sped home to check on me. Meanwhile, Evelyn quickly called our family physician, Dr. Vance. Terrified of worsening my injuries, she left me on the floor. Then she dragged Luke and his gang outside to rip them a brand new one. Dr. Vance arrived quickly and opened his kit. He gently dabbed the blood on my face with gauze, but as soon as he touched my mouth, he stopped. This is not blood. Confused, he sniffed the gauze. It was literally Heinz ketchup. He stared down at me in utter shock. I gave him a cheeky grin and whispered, $10,000. Tell him it is fatal. I knew what I was doing. In my past life, I discovered Dr. Vance had a sick daughter who needed incredibly expensive treatments. That is why he left his prestigious hospital career to become a private doctor for the ultra-rich. He loved money, but he hated bullies. He caught on instantly. Gritting his teeth, he whispered back, make it $20,000 and I will diagnose internal bleeding. Deal, I whispered. We shared a silent nod of total mutual understanding. Just as we sealed the deal, Arthur stormed in with the 4 fathers. The dads already knew their sons screwed up. The second they walked in, they spotted the boys. 2 dads whipped out leather belts. The other 2 grabbed wooden chairs. They cornered their sons and unleashed pure hell right then and there. Belts cracked, chairs shattered, and the bullies screamed in real, agonizing pain. Arthur stood aside, watching in cold silence, feeling a deep wave of satisfaction. You and I both love a good payback, and lying on the floor gave me a front row seat. Their pathetic wails were absolute music to my ears. These idiots thought they could bully me and walk away. Not today. But after minutes of brutal beating, the fathers actually started to feel guilty. Seeing their kids bruised, parental instincts kicked in. Their swings slowed, and some even stopped, hoping this beatdown was enough to calm Arthur's intense rage. Since the action movie was losing its spark, I cranked up the drama. Ah, my organs. It hurts so bad, I am fading away. Hearing my dramatic screams, Arthur snapped, glaring at the dads who stopped. Terrified of his wrath, they picked up their weapons and started beating their sons even harder. Dr. Vance, seeing Arthur enter the living room, began his Oscar-worthy performance, frantically shouting, Mr. Lancaster, Leo has suffered severe internal trauma. His organs are bleeding catastrophically. Hearing this, the dads outside went wild, beating their kids at warp speed. Arthur panicked, rushing to my side. Seeing me covered in red, he grabbed the physician. Dr. Vance, is he going to make it? Can you save him? Dr. Vance pulled Arthur aside, whispering, Mr. Lancaster, relax. Leo is perfectly fine. Arthur froze, but he is bleeding everywhere. You just said his organs are ruptured. Dr. Vance coughed, explaining our secret deal, revealing the blood was just ketchup, and I did not have a single scratch. Arthur stood there utterly dumbfounded before pure rage kicked in. What on earth is this kid playing at? Faking a near-death experience for fun? Is he trying to mess with me? He stormed over, hissing, Leo, you little bastard. What are you doing? If you are not hurt, why are you staging this massive circus? I did not break character, glaring back to whisper, so what if I am not hurt? They tried to beat me and verbally abuse me. I wanted to teach them a lesson. Is that a crime? If I am wrong, go tell everyone the truth. Arthur shook with rage, but realized the logic actually held up. They did try to jump his son, so what do you and I think he will do next? Alright, you and I are about to watch these 4 furious dads teach their own sons a lesson so brutal the boys can barely stand. Exhausted, they drop their belts and walk into the living room. They offer fake smiles to Arthur, then stare at me, absolutely drenched in blood, feeling like justice was served. After all, their kids look even worse. Mr. Lancaster, we are incredibly sorry, they beg, admitting they failed to discipline their boys. They committed a massive sin. Then they turn to me, apologizing for failing as fathers, while each pulls out a premium bank card to hand over. They offer $80,000 total as a formal apology, but internally, I just laugh. $20,000 per card? Not in your wildest dreams. Ignoring them completely, I go back to rolling on the floor, groaning in fake agony. Arthur's eye twitches because he knows I am acting and pushing it way too far. $80,000 is a sweet payout for 0 actual injuries, but these dads have no idea. Seeing me reject the cards while Arthur stares silently at the ceiling makes them panic. Thinking the offer is too low, they grit their teeth and pull out 4 more. They hand over 4 more cards, with $100,000 on each, begging me to use it all for my medical bills and recovery. They claim they must take full responsibility for their son's actions, saying they won't sleep at night if I do not accept the money. I wanted to drag this out, but for $480,000 I can show mercy. Plus, if they keep beating their kids, someone might actually die. Here is the part you and I need to watch closely. My hand shoots out like a viper, instantly snatching all 8 cards. Then, in a weak, soft voice, I murmur that they are too kind, calling it just a minor scuffle between kids with nothing serious going on. I say I would feel bad refusing their generosity. Watching this masterclass in extortion, Arthur's face twitches, realizing this kid is a total psychological terrorist. The 4 dads are completely bewildered. Wait, was he not just dying of internal bleeding? How did he grab those cards so lightning fast? Why does he look perfectly fine now? Suspicion starts brewing. They just beat their sons half to death and paid out nearly $500,000. Realizing they got played, rage bubbles in their chests. They want to grab the cards back, but Arthur is still staring at the ceiling, offering zero objections. They hesitate. Rumors said Leo was an unloved outcast in the Lancaster family, which is why they let their sons bully him in the first place. But Arthur is clearly backing him up here. Realizing he is not the indifferent father rumors claimed, the dads force out incredibly painful, fake smiles. They tell me to use the money to get well, saying they will take their boys home now to discipline them even further. They think the deal is done and they can escape. But I am not done playing yet. You and I both know what is coming next, right? I clutch my chest, hacking violently, and pull my hand away to show it drenched in fake blood, shocking the dads. They wonder why I am coughing up blood when I was just fine. I collapse onto the floor, panting weakly, saying it is just kids playing. But your 4 noble sons did beat me up. Since you were so nice, I did not fight back, but shouldn't they at least apologize? I tell them it is for their own good, because if they do not teach their kids manners, society will, and the dads are absolutely fuming. They already beat them half to death, yet I want an apology, but seeing Arthur still staring at the ceiling, they have to swallow their pride. They march back outside, grab their bruised sons by the collars, drag them into the living room, and toss them right at my feet. They command the boys to apologize to me immediately. The battered, bleeding kids can barely even stand up straight. They collapse in front of me with defiant eyes. Luke spits, telling me to fight one-on-one like a man instead of calling their dads, which makes me ecstatic. I love it when they talk trash because it makes the apology even sweeter. I slowly drag myself across the floor, groaning that I am fading away. Now, Arthur is getting genuinely angry. Fake or not, these kids tried to jump me, and they are still glaring with zero remorse. He shoots a lethal glare at the fathers, asking if this is the trash they raise, making the dads shiver in pure terror. They instantly kick their sons, demanding they apologize. Luke and the others yelp in pain, trying to crawl away from the brutal kicks, but they are far too exhausted. Forced into submission, they grit their teeth and push out the most agonizing, humiliating smiles imaginable. They apologize, begging for forgiveness with forced smiles so ugly they look like weeping demons. I just smile back warmly and say it is okay. I tell them I forgive them, advising them not to bully classmates anymore, pointing out how incredibly sad they made their poor fathers. The dads' faces twitch so hard they look like they are having seizures while I have the time of my life. Luke's dad agrees, promising to teach them better. Since they apologized and got punished, they ask if they can finally go home. But before he can even finish, I flip onto my stomach, dragging myself across the floor. Staring in fake horror at the blood on my hands, I wail, asking if I am going to die. Saying I do not want to die, I grab Dr. Vance's leg, sobbing hysterically and begging him to save me. Vance, clearly enjoying his role in this soap opera, clears his throat. He tells me not to agitate myself, warning that I have severe internal bleeding and any spike in heart rate will make the ruptures worse. He claims even he cannot save me if I stay stressed. His performance is flawless, carrying heavy sorrow, making Arthur's eye twitch all over again. Faking a near-death experience is one thing, but getting a respected doctor to join the theater troupe is next level. The dads, completely unaware that Dr. Vance is acting, start doubting their own eyes. I was moving like a gymnast 5 minutes ago, so how am I dying now? They stay silent, waiting for my next demand. I drag myself closer, looking up with tragic, teary eyes at the uncles. Trust me, you and I are not ready for my next insane demand. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a crazy masterclass of manipulation. Our main character is faking a heart attack, claiming that the trauma of the beating triggers his heart rate every time he looks at his bullies. He warns them his organs might actually explode, and Luke's dad catches on fast, agreeing to cooperate because nobody wants to be responsible for a dead kid. As the father tries to drag his son away, our hero lets out a dramatic scream, grabbing his chest and crying that he is literally dying. Gasping for breath, he plays his hand, asking if these good parents could transfer Luke, Vince, Tom, and Sam out of Sunshine Private Academy. He claims seeing them in the hallways will trigger his post-traumatic stress and kill him, leaving the wealthy fathers frozen in shock. Sunshine Academy is the most prestigious elite school in town, and leaving is social suicide. They sent their kids there to network with the Lancaster heirs. But now, he wants them expelled, ruining their bright futures. Their faces turn incredibly dark as they realize this kid is a greedy, bottomless pit. The bullies are absolutely furious since they already apologized, but Luke's dad forces a smile, promising Leo that they will avoid him at school. He begs Leo not to force a transfer. But then, Leo slams his face into the floor, smearing blood everywhere, and wails at the ceiling. He cries out to Arthur Lancaster, shouting that he should have stayed at the orphanage, where he would actually be thriving. He screams that he has not even been here for 2 years and is already being beaten to death. The richest family letting their son get bullied is a complete disgrace. Bullseye. He knows exactly how to trigger his father. He is a Lancaster now, and getting beaten up is a massive slap to the family name. Now, pay attention here because this is where everything changes. Arthur cares about his ego more than life, and his face instantly turns into a thundercloud. Arthur looks at the boys and spots the burning hatred in their eyes. They are not sorry at all, and they are definitely plotting revenge. They disrespected his family and still expect to keep their bright futures. Not on his watch. Arthur speaks up coldly, saying that Leo is absolutely right. He lets the physical fight slide today, but to protect future business and keep his family safe, he demands they transfer their sons out of Sunshine Academy immediately. The dads notice the hateful glares their sons are still shooting at Leo. They realize Arthur is right and that these idiots will only cause more trouble. They have to swallow this bitter pill. Gritting their teeth, they agree to process the transfers immediately and ask to preserve their business deals. They beg him not to ruin their contracts, and Arthur simply nods to dismiss them. With his mission accomplished, Leo lies flat, letting the doctor perform hilarious, fake chest compressions while the ruined kids are dragged out of the mansion. The second their cars pull out of the driveway, Leo bounces up off the floor like a spring. Covered in ketchup, he's grinning from ear to ear. He pulls 8 bank cards out of his pocket, looking at them like rare collectible cards. To him, this is the ultimate treasure. Even living to 40 in his past life, he had never seen $480,000. Arthur looks at his greed with utter disgust. Arthur mocks him for getting excited over pennies, warning Leo that he only helped because the other kids swung first, and threatens to never help him again if he keeps acting unhinged. Calling him shallow, Arthur scowls. But Leo just holds his fortune tightly, completely immune to the insults. Okay, I know what you are thinking. Is Leo seriously about to challenge his billionaire dad? Oh, absolutely. He asks him to match that $500,000 right now. Arthur is completely choked by this bold logic, asking Leo if this is really how he speaks to his own father. But Leo just scoffs. He demands the cash, pointing out that he has been here for 2 years without getting a dime until a small payment a few days ago. Arthur is completely speechless, pointing a shaking finger at him and warning Leo that he is on his own if he causes more trouble. Leo ignores his helpless rage, gleefully hugging his cards and skipping upstairs, leaving Arthur looking like he is about to have a stroke. Honestly, Arthur is starting to look at him differently. It is almost like he prefers this chaotic, unhinged version over the old, depressed Leo. He shakes his head to clear the absurd idea, while Mason, who watched the whole thing, realizes that Arthur did not even punish Leo. This means Arthur is subconsciously accepting his wild behavior, sparking a vicious jealousy in Mason's eyes as he wishes Leo had never come back. Just as Leo is about to leave, Dr. Vance shouts anxiously, asking if he forgot about the promised $20,000. Leo just laughs. He tells the doctor to relax, promising he will wire the $20,000 as soon as he transfers the money to his main account. He waves the cards, declaring himself a rich man who would never scam him. The doctor's face instantly blooms into a radiant smile. He trusts Leo completely. Back in his room, Leo jumps onto his live stream to apologize to his fans. He tells them that due to a minor health issue, there will not be any dumpster diving for the next few days. They did not hear the living room showdown, but seeing him get jumped made them incredibly sympathetic, telling him to rest up. They praise him for updating them despite his injuries. After chatting, Leo ends the stream and takes a deep nap with his cards under his pillow. He sleeps straight through to the evening, waking up with a growling stomach and heading down for a family dinner. Lily is working late, so it is just the main family at the table. Leo ignores them all and surveys the amazing spread. Lobster, fried rice, salmon salad, steamed fish head, and crispy greens are laid out, and it actually looks pretty good. Without greeting anyone, he grabs a bowl, scoops up a mountain of lobster rice, and starts inhaling it without hesitation. We leave it as Chloe screams that he has zero manners. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me here. We're about to watch a toxic family get absolutely wrecked by the kid they tried to bully. It starts with them demanding he bow down and thank them. The parents nodded in agreement, expecting him to stop eating and beg for their approval. Meanwhile, his sister Chloe smirked, winking at her brother Mason to show off her sick dominance. Slowly putting his bowl down without taking another bite, he stood up and quietly walked out of the dining room. Chloe smirked, thinking she had successfully bullied him into skipping dinner again. But what they did not know was that he did not leave because he was sad. He left because her mouth was incredibly filthy and needed a deep cleaning. So, he walked straight into the bathroom and grabbed the toilet brush. He inspected it. Still pretty gross. Perfect. Hiding it behind his back, he strolled right back into the room. Chloe was the first to notice. She raised an eyebrow, totally shocked. Usually, her bullying made him cry or freeze up in silence. Why was he back? Before she could utter another insult, and while the parents still sat there waiting for his apology, he made his move. Stepping casually behind Chloe, she turned to smirk and opened her mouth, and then shove. Now, here is where it gets crazy. Watch closely as he jams a filthy toilet brush directly into her open mouth, locking her jaw tight while her eyes widen in sheer terror. Stiff, chemical-soaked bristles and the foul stench of a public restroom triggered her gag reflex instantly. Everything she had just eaten came rocketing right back up. She puked violently, but with the brush wedged in her throat, the vomit sprayed everywhere like a busted fire hydrant. He aggressively scrubbed the brush around her mouth while she gagged. Arthur and Mason finally snapped out of their shock, lunging forward to pull him off. As they yanked him away, the brush popped out of her mouth. Instantly, Chloe unleashed a massive wave of vomit across the dining table. Evelyn gagged, covered her face, and bolted into the hallway to throw up. Arthur and Mason looked completely disgusted, desperately trying to hold it together. Free from the brush, Chloe kept dry, heaving with tears streaming down her face. She could not speak, but her eyes radiated pure, venomous hatred. Fighting his own urge to throw up, Mason immediately started yelling. He claimed Chloe was just giving honest advice, asking how he could do this. Pointing at the brush, he gagged, swallowed hard, and asked if she was wrong. Shouldn't they respect their parents and thank them? Arthur's face turned completely purple as he roared, calling Leo a psycho. He asked how he could repay them like this after they raised him. He demanded to know if they were owed respect and gratitude. But looking at the messy toilet brush, Leo decided this was still not satisfying enough. He stared at Chloe's glare. Yep, her mouth was still too dirty. Clutching the vomit-covered brush, he took a step forward and she lost her mind. Sobbing and exhausted, she scrambled backward across the floor, using her father as a human shield. Seeing him ready to strike again, Arthur absolutely exploded. Arthur screamed at him to answer if his sister was wrong. He yelled that they owed him nothing, calling him a completely ungrateful wretch. Leo just laughed coldly, swinging the toilet brush right at him, sending nasty splatters of vomit flying through the air. Arthur flinched, dropping the leather belt he had grabbed. Chloe caught the splash zone, and completely broken, she let out a quiet sob and passed out cold. Arthur screamed, asking if he was actually going to strike his own father, foaming at the mouth while pointing a shaking finger. He screamed that he regretted Leo was ever born, wishing he had strangled him in his crib. I know what you're thinking. How does Leo react? He flips the switch. Dropping the brush, he twisted his face into a mask of total anguish, throwing himself onto the floor to thrash around wildly. As the brush rolled away, smearing filth on the tiles, he shrieked at the top of his lungs, claiming Arthur and Evelyn Lancaster owed him absolutely everything. Arthur trembled with rage, calling him an ungrateful bastard. He demanded to know what they owed him after giving him life and feeding him. Thrashing on the floor, he screamed back that they failed as parents, letting him get snatched by human traffickers when he was only 2 years old. He spent 13 years rotting in an orphanage alone while they did zero parenting, completely failing their legal and moral obligations. Arthur's face turned green, unable to find a comeback, but Leo did not stop, reminding him the law requires parents to protect their minor children. They neglected him for over a decade, so how did they not owe him? Arthur's eyes looked ready to pop right out of his skull. The dining room was an absolute biohazard zone of vomit, broken dishes, and chaos. Unable to stand the stench or the screaming any longer, he spun around and stormed out. Suddenly feeling bored, Leo tossed the brush aside, dusted himself off, and walked back to my room, leaving them with the mess. For the next few days, the mansion was eerily quiet. It is funny how the world works. Act crazy enough, and everyone suddenly becomes polite. When the new school semester finally started, he and Mason rode the family Rolls-Royce to Sunshine Private Academy. They were seniors entering the final sprint before college exams, and Mason was the ultimate golden boy. He was not just top of their school, but top in the city. Meanwhile, Leo was at the bottom, despite having great grades in his past life. But after moving in, the family neglect and the brutal school bullying orchestrated by Mason sent his grades plummeting straight into the abyss. On the first day of school, near the end of the fourth period, their literature professor, Mr. Ian Bates, glared directly at him. Ordering Leo to his office after class, the teacher dismissed the room and walked out without even checking if he was actually following. The class was used to this routine, and nobody blinked. Feeling their cold stares, especially Mason's fake concern masking pure malice, he knew what was coming. The first school battle was beginning, and trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch the ultimate high school payback. It starts when my teacher calls me in during lunch, putting on a show for his colleagues. I quietly followed him. We stood by his desk while the other staff ate lunch. Seeing me, they immediately exchanged knowing, judgmental looks. They all saw me as a hopeless loser. "Leo, look at this homework," Bates shouted dramatically. "Your handwriting is a mess and your answers are completely wrong. Do you even want to go to college? With this garbage attitude, how do you expect to succeed?" Basking in his colleagues' approval, Bates got more dramatic, spit flying from his mouth. He was putting on a show, playing the dedicated hero, sacrificing his lunch break for a troubled kid. But here is what they did not know. Bates was just a bully targeting me because I was the family outcast. He knew my golden child brother Mason hated me, so he spent a year finding excuses to torment me. Meanwhile, Mason played the perfect angel to keep Bates happy. It made Bates look incredibly dedicated to the staff. A total win-win. Why can't you be more like Mason? Bates' aggressive shouting grew louder. You are both brothers, yet he gets top grades and helps others. You have failing grades, 0 friends, and a garbage attitude. Have you no shame? In his fury, Bates shoved me hard in the chest. Perfect. I went limp, crashing dramatically onto the floor. The entire lounge went dead silent as Bates froze. Trust me, you do not want to miss how he pays for this. Alright, let's jump into this scene where I'm faking a seizure on the floor while my abusive teacher stares at his hands in horror. The guy is panicking, thinking he killed a kid with a simple shove. Suddenly, the other teachers snap out of it and rush over to check on me. They glare at Bates, scolding him for putting his hands on a student. "Look at what you've done to this poor kid," they yell. They thought he just got too passionate, but I needed to ruin this guy completely. Now watch closely, because here comes my final blow as I slowly open my eyes. I weakly whisper that my blood sugar is just low, begging to sit down. Instantly, they shove Bates aside and drag his office chair over for me. They help me sit down while Bates stands there terrified of an assault charge. But little did he know, I wasn't just resting in his chair. I was exactly where I wanted to be. Trust me, this guy's dark secret is going to disgust you. He was obsessed with the female students. But since these rich kids had powerful parents, he couldn't touch them, so he settled for stealing their underwear instead. For years, rumors of a thief plagued the girls' dorms, but the school administration always brushed it off as misplaced laundry. In my past life, his secret came out 6 months. Let's dive into this intense stealth mission. He kept it in his desk to admire during work, so as I slumped weakly in his chair, I scanned the desk, spotting the second and third drawers slightly open, revealing papers. Alright, you and I are about to watch a genius plan unfold while his teacher frantically defends himself to his colleagues. I swear I did not hit him. I just nudged him out of frustration and he collapsed. The other teachers nod sympathetically. "Do not worry, Ian. We know your dedication." Bates sighs in relief. Crisis averted. From now on, he will stick to verbal abuse. Suddenly, I slide off the chair to fake another dramatic feint, my eyes wide with panic as my arms flail wildly and grab onto his locked top drawer. Bates turns around, spots my hand on the handle, and his soul literally leaves his body. He knows exactly what is hidden inside. He lunges forward with terrifying speed, but 2 teachers block him while trying to catch me. This gives me a crucial half-second window. As I hit the floor, I pull with all my might. And here is where it gets absolutely wild. The drawer yanks open, and a colorful explosion of lacy silk underwear bursts out, cascading onto the dirty floor. Bates freezes like a stone statue, his mind going completely blank as the other teachers stare at the pile in absolute horror. Why does Ian have a mountain of women's lingerie in his desk? Everyone connects the dots. Could he actually be the campus thief? Before anyone can process the situation, I spring up, grab massive handfuls of the underwear, leap over the desk, and scream, "Oh my God," at the top of my lungs. Are these the missing girls' clothes? Is our homeroom teacher the dorm thief? Bates stands paralyzed while the other teachers instantly panic. They realize they must contain this immediately to prevent a massive school scandal. They exchange tense glances, silently agreeing to handle everything internally. You and I know he might survive if they hush this up, but I have 0 plans to let him off. Clutching the massive pile of stolen law. But Harry, I bolt out the door into the hallway, yelling that I have to show these to the girls in my class. Mr. Bates told me to be helpful, so I am helping them find their lost lingerie. I sprint like an Olympic athlete with the colorful lace flapping majestically behind me. A mob of terrified teachers chases me, begging, "Leo, stop. Do not be rash. Let us talk about this." But I keep running. I completely ignore them, my voice echoing everywhere as afternoon classes start and the hallways pack with curious students. Suddenly, everyone witnesses a bizarre spectacle, me sprinting full speed with a rainbow of lingerie, chased by a panicked herd of teachers. "Is that underwear?" I yell to the crowd. Girls of Sunshine Academia, if you are missing your underwear, it was hoarded in Bates's desk. Come claim your stuff or go check his office. The teachers chasing me look ready to cry. They claimed it was not the girls' underwear, but they definitely did not want it broadcasted to the entire school. The cat was not just out of the bag, it was doing backflips in the courtyard. The girls turned furious, screaming that Bates is the creep who stole their stuff. Trust me, You and I are going to love seeing what happens next. Alright, check this out. They are absolutely disgusted and storming his office to expose what he stole. Alright, you and I are starting today with an absolute riot as a massive army of furious high school girls storms toward the staff room, and trust me, the principal is absolutely sweating bullets. Knowing the school's entire reputation was about to get totally destroyed, I casually jogged back into my classroom. The students stared at me in shock. I just ignored them, caught my breath, and held up a massive pile of stolen underwear. "Attention, girls of class 12, I announced, holding up the goods. I salvaged a bunch of your stuff from Mr. Bates's desk. The rest is still in his office." Suddenly, Rachel stood up. She was the undisputed boss of the girls in our class, a total powerhouse who normally did not care about drama. But this changed everything. Now, she was absolutely furious. "Leo, are you serious? Did you actually find this in his desk?" "Dead serious," I replied. "There is a massive mob heading to his office right now," I said. Rachel did not hesitate, rallying the girls to go hunt that creep down. The entire female population of the class stormed out, completely enraged. Honestly, I did not expect anyone to claim the underwear from me right then. It was too embarrassing. Plus, knowing that creep had touched them made the items feel totally radioactive. So, I respectfully left the pile on Rachel's desk so she could handle it. I sat down, completely exhausted but satisfied. Mr. Bates was finished. With wealthy parents getting involved, losing his job was just the start of his problems. He was looking at real criminal charges. Sure enough, by the afternoon, the school announced Mr. Bates was fired, effective immediately. Meanwhile, Rachel had gathered all the evidence and was already prepping a massive lawsuit with other parents. Now pay attention here, because if the school had not acted, those billionaire parents would have bought the campus just to demolish it. Thankfully, the girls returned, apologizing to me one by one. "Leo, if you had not exposed him, who knows what that creep would have done next. Thank you." I just gave them a humble, awkward smile. The boys in class were absolutely seething with jealousy. Seeing me, the resident loser, suddenly surrounded by the most popular girls in school, was totally eating them alive. Just then, Rachel walked over and slammed her hand on my desk, nearly sending my water bottle flying. With a fierce, approving grin, she told me, "Leo, you did great today. We never would have caught that creep without you. I am sorry we misunderstood you before. But from now on, you are cool in my book. I am officially putting you under my protection. If anyone messes with you, they answer to me." She shot a lethal glare at the boys who used to bully me, making them instantly pretend to study. Seriously, nobody messed with Rachel. The other girls cheered, declaring I was one of them now. But what they did not know was how deeply this moved me. Nobody had ever protected me before. Not at the orphanage, and definitely not at the Lancaster house. I dropped my fake smile, looked her in the eyes, and asked, "Seriously?" "Deal," I said. Rachel laughed and slapped my back hard enough to dislocate my shoulder, telling me not to be so polite. I completely ignored the pure hatred radiating from Mason across the room. He had been trying to win Rachel over for months, but she always kept him firmly in the friend zone. Trust me, seeing her protect me drove him insane. But then, we head back to the Lancaster mansion. During dinner, Arthur frowned at me, warning me that even if my intentions were good, I needed to be extremely careful with my actions. He told me to stay out of filthy, scandalous school drama because the Lancaster family should never be associated with such dirty business. Evelyn chimed in, calling it disgusting and complaining that people would always associate my name with that pervert teacher from now on. She complained that it reflected poorly on the family, telling me to be more like Mason and bring honor to the house. Mason just smirked. "Mom, Dad, do not blame Big Brother," Mason said. "He has only been with us for 2 years and does not understand high society etiquette." He shot me a smug look, basically saying I might be a school hero, but he was the golden child here. Chloe eagerly nodded along. Ever since the toilet brush incident, she had been waiting to see me put in my place. Feeling completely untouchable, Mason kept going. "Since Big Brother does not know the rules, and you both are busy, how about I spend an hour every night teaching him how to behave properly?" The implication was clear. He was superior, and I was just an embarrassment. Hearing this, Arthur absolutely beamed with pride. "Mason, you are such a sensible boy," Arthur said, praising him for sacrificing his precious study time to tutor me. "You see the big picture." Evelyn agreed, proudly adding that Mason's time was incredibly precious and that I better show some real gratitude. I slowly set my chopsticks down, stood up, grabbed the edge of the silk tablecloth, and yanked it with all my strength. "If you guys cannot shut your mouths while eating, then nobody eats." Plates and bowls of hot food went flying everywhere as scalding soup and greasy fried rice landed squarely on Mason and Chloe. A hot custard bun bounced right off Mason's forehead, leaving him dripping with beef broth and chili oil from head to toe. Chloe was covered in sticky sauce and wilted vegetables, looking like a swamp monster. Sitting opposite, Arthur and Evelyn barely avoided the splash zone. They stared in absolute shock at the ruined dining room, and then at my completely calm, nonchalant expression. "Leo, What the hell are you doing? Arthur roared. Mason was only trying to help you, and you assault him? You ungrateful psycho. Wiping grease from his eyes, Mason played the victim perfectly. Big brother, what did I do? I just did not want you to embarrass Mom and Dad. Arthur slammed his fist on the table. Mason is right. Look at yourself. You are a walking embarrassment to the Lancaster family name. If you do not want to learn, fine. But flipping tables? I will absolutely not tolerate this kind of chaotic behavior in my house. And that is where we leave it today, as I grab a heavy chair, smash it against the wall, and prepare to wreck everything else. Get ready, because you and I are about to witness the ultimate family meltdown. I glared at Arthur and Evelyn, demanding we sever our legal ties right now. From this day forward, I, Leo Lancaster, have absolutely nothing to do with this family. Dead or alive, we are total strangers. Let's go, unless you are too scared. I smashed the chair against the floor until the legs splintered into pieces. Arthur and Evelyn flinched, absolutely terrified by my raw aggression. It looked less like I was breaking furniture and more like I was visualizing destroying them. What are you doing? Arthur yelled, taking a step back. Who are you trying to scare? Do you really think you can survive without the Lancaster wealth? If you want to stay in this family, stop acting like a lunatic and start bringing us honor. We do not raise useless trash, Evelyn glared. Do you think throwing a tantrum scares us? The Lancaster family is a billionaire dynasty. You need us. We do not need you. I looked at them coldly. You promised me a home, but I have received nothing but abuse. If you truly wanted to give me a good life, you would have jumped off a cliff by now. My anger boiled over. I picked up a broken chair leg and slammed it, denting the wall. You said the orphanage was a bad place. Then explain the absolute hell you have put me through here. Tell me, Arthur. Tell me, Eve, what exactly is so great about this miserable family that I should be grateful for? Arthur was speechless, looking at Evelyn with eyes full of blame. Evelyn, knowing her neglect caused this, could not meet his gaze. Meanwhile, I kept smashing everything. The walls were dented, the table completely ruined. Decades of repressed anger and humiliation were finally exploding. Arthur's head throbbed. I was acting like a rabid dog, completely devoid of reason. He wanted to punish me, but he remembered the knife, the fire, and the crazy behavior. He simply did not dare push me over the edge. You ungrateful bastard, Arthur spat. I do not care anymore. Be an embarrassment if you want. I wash my hands of you. He stormed out of the dining room. Evelyn quickly followed. Now watch closely as only Mason, Chloe, and I remained in the ruined room. I dropped the wood, turned to them, and smiled pleasantly. The two of them, still covered in food and grease, froze completely. Seeing me smile at them while holding a splintered piece of wood, absolute terror seized them. Without saying a word, they scrambled backward, slipped on the grease, recovered, and sprinted out of the dining room like they had seen an actual demon. I stood in the wreckage, shaking my head. They could have just been quiet, but no, they made me go crazy. For the next few days, the mansion was blissfully peaceful. Then Friday night arrived, and Lily, who usually worked late, was actually home for dinner. Tomorrow is Saturday, Arthur announced grandly. The Lancaster Group is hosting a massive corporate gala. Every top executive and all our major partners will be there. Lily, have you prepared your presentation? Tomorrow is a massive networking opportunity for you. Lily nodded. Seriously, do not worry, Dad. I am fully prepared. I won't let you down. Arthur nodded, turning to Chloe. Chloe, dress to impress tomorrow. I am inviting several young elite entrepreneurs. Who knows? You might find a worthy husband. Chloe rolled her eyes playfully. Dad, please. I am Chloe Lancaster. I look gorgeous without even trying. Tomorrow, men will be lining up to kiss my feet. Evelyn laughed. Do not be silly, dear. I have hired a stylist for you. You will be the star. Arthur finally looked at Mason. This gala is different from usual parties. The guests are high-level players. You need to learn how to network, maintain relationships, and leverage connections. Understand? Mason nodded solemnly. Yes, Dad. I won't disappoint you. I will make you proud. Arthur laughed boisterously as the family showered each other with praise and validation. I know what you're thinking. Are they really ignoring him? Right then, I loudly interrupted, asking if they forgot about me again. The atmosphere instantly flatlined. The laughter died, replaced by a tense silence. I sat at the table, watching the Lancasters deliberately avoid making any eye contact with me. I sneered. Well, speak up. Did you forget about me, Leo Lancaster, or did you just not want me there? My voice grew louder and aggressive. Ever since I returned to this family, whenever there was a public event, I was explicitly excluded. The reason for this was simple. They thought the orphanage kid would embarrass them. In my past life, I accepted this, desperate for approval, thinking if I stayed out of the way, they would love me. But the new me operates on one simple rule. If you do not let me live in peace, I will make sure you live in hell. I stood up, glaring. Speak up, I demanded. Why did you exclude me? Lily could not take it anymore. She slammed her hands on the table, looking down with supreme arrogance. Leo, why are you yelling? You know exactly why we did not invite you. You grew up in an orphanage and do not know basic etiquette. How are you supposed to mingle with billionaires? If you offend a chief executive officer and cost the company a contract, can you afford to pay for it? Stop acting like a child. Tomorrow find a place to hide and do not show your face. I laughed darkly. Lily, you think being the eldest sister gives you power over me? You clearly forgot who you are dealing with. My eyes instantly went red. I began to tremble, my voice dropping to a fragile, shaky whisper. So you all look down on me. If you despise me, why bring me back? Why? My voice suddenly spiked into a demonic shriek. Why? I hate you. I hate all of you. Go to hell. Arthur had been staying silent, letting his daughter handle my insanity. But hearing this outrageous curse, he snapped. He stood up, ready to verbally obliterate me. But before he could speak, I rolled my eyes back, exposing only the whites, and collapsed backward out of my chair, hitting the floor with a heavy thud. Arthur flinched. Wait, did Lily actually anger him to death? His rational mind told him this was completely impossible. He knew I was dramatic, but seeing me lying there, he cautiously stepped forward to check on me, just in case he needed to call an ambulance. The moment he got close, I violently shot up, nearly headbutting him. Arthur stumbled backward. I knew it, he thought. He's playing crazy again. Leo, you ungrateful. I stood rigidly straight, arms hanging, eyes still rolled back. Trust me, we are definitely not ready for what he does next. All right, you and I are diving into the craziest family drama ever. As I open my mouth, a raspy, terrifying woman's voice echoes out, you little brat. I haven't taught you a lesson in decades, and look at you now. Leo is my precious grandson, so why are you beating and cursing him? If you ever dare touch Leo again, I swear to God I will crawl right out of the underworld and beat you until you are completely paralyzed and Arthur's face instantly drains of all color. He grips the table to keep from collapsing on the spot. The voice, the tone, the harsh words, it's his dead mother, and his mind goes completely blank. Is his dead mother actually possessing Leo from beyond the grave? His legs turn to absolute jelly. Keeping up the act, I take a stiff, creepy hop toward Lily. I stare her down with my rolled back, pure white eyes. The entire dining room descends into chaotic panic as Evelyn freezes up, paralyzed with sheer terror. Years ago, her mother-in-law made her life a living hell, constantly screaming that she was a useless mother. It was by far the darkest period of Evelyn's entire life. When the old woman died 13 years ago, Evelyn felt free, but seeing her mother-in-law's ghost manifest right now, Evelyn collapses onto the cold floor in sheer terror. The younger siblings, Chloe and Mason, barely remember their grandmother, so they are just deeply freaked out. But Lily? She is trembling uncontrollably with pure guilt. I hop right up to her, grab her hair, and unleash a brutal flurry of slaps directly to her face. Oh, Lily, my sweet granddaughter. You watched human traffickers kidnap your baby brother and didn't say a single word to save him, yet now you dare to bully my precious Leo? Let me show you how we treat animals like you. Smack, smack, smack. I land several more brutal slaps. Arthur freezes in absolute shock as he hears this. Pay attention here, because this massive secret changes everything. Did Lily really just watch her own brother get kidnapped? How could she just stand there? Forgetting his fear, Arthur looks at Lily, begging her to deny it, but her face is already swelling up from the brutal strikes. Her eyes are filled with crushing guilt and terror as she makes zero effort to defend herself. I play the furious dead grandmother perfectly, screaming that I will beat her to death. How could you let your own brother be stolen, you absolute snake? I raise my hand and hit her again with a loud crack. Lily breaks down sobbing, begging for forgiveness because she was just a kid and did not understand. She even asked for mercy since Leo returned home safely anyway. Shut up, I roar in that eerie, raspy voice. You were 10 years old, so how could you not know? You just did not want your brother around. I sneer at her, asking if she let him get taken because she thought I loved him more. I hit her so hard she literally spins around from the impact. Do not dare credit his safe return to luck. That has nothing to do with your crimes, and you deserve a thorough beating for what you did. Seeing his eldest daughter getting absolutely destroyed, Arthur finally snaps out of his shock. Terrified but desperate to save her life, he cries out to his mother's spirit. He begs her to spare Lily for his sake. I carelessly toss her aside like trash and jerk my body directly toward Arthur, glaring at him. You are no saint either, I hiss, grabbing him by his hair. You dare call me mother after looking down on my beloved grandson and treating him like complete garbage? You abuse and beat him. But you are the useless failure who deserves to be looked down on. You should be beating your own pathetic self. I unleash a relentless combo of slaps onto Arthur's face. He goes completely stiff, taking the beating from his dead mother without a single hint of resistance. Sensing a golden opportunity to score points with Arthur, Mason bravely steps forward, offering to take the violent punishment in his father's place. You and I can see right through this fake act, but Arthur is moved to tears by his adopted son's loyalty during this insane supernatural crisis. What a loyal boy. But just as Arthur is feeling touched, my eerie voice cuts through the room, snapping that I am absolutely not his grandmother. I do not know what gutter you crawled out of, but you are no Lancaster. Arthur stands stunned while Mason gets caught in the furious crossfire. I will beat you to death, you fake. I raise my hand to strike Arthur again, warning him that if he mistreats Leo, I will drag him to hell. Desperate to protect his inheritance, Mason doubles down, arguing that even without her blood, he is an excellent and loyal son to Arthur. He sheds dramatic tears, promising Arthur that he will live and die as a Lancaster, and will always remain his loyal son no matter what happens. Arthur looks at Mason with tears pouring down his face, agreeing completely. This overly dramatic, fake bonding scene is so nauseating I genuinely want to throw up. Their disgusting display of affection is totally revolting, so I immediately smack the back of Arthur's head with all my strength. Arthur yelps while covering his head, begging her to stop before he dies. Good, it is better if you die, the grandmother voice snaps back. I only recognize Leo as my true grandson, while the rest of you can get lost. Abuse him again, and I will take your life. Arthur quickly promises to listen. Arthur whimpers, begging her to stop. He originally planned to punish me for flipping the table, but now he swallows his pride. Meanwhile, Evelyn loses her mind. She had been cowering in the corner, but realizing the old spirit is not using lethal force, her fear quickly turns to pure annoyance. Evelyn complains that she is being unfair, claiming Mason is brilliant and the hope of the family, while Leo is a brainless slacker. He acts wild and embarrasses their high society name. Letting go of Arthur's hair, I let out a bone-chilling cackle and hop directly in front of Evelyn. Staring into my creepy, wide-eyed face up close, Evelyn turns pale. I snatch a handful of her styled hair and violently yank her head backward. Did you honestly think I forgot about you, Evelyn? I hiss, calling her a gold-digging, useless waste of space. If you were not so incompetent, my grandson would not have been kidnapped and tortured for 13 years. Slap. Now he returns, and instead of helping him, you abuse him. You lock him in a damp closet with no clothes and no money. With every sentence I yell, I land another brutal smack on her face. Evelyn's face swells as blood trickles down. How dare you abuse my grandson while praising Mason? She begs for mercy, but trust me, you and I are just getting started. Alright, you and I are diving into the ultimate payback. As Evelyn begs for mercy, Mason activates his hero complex, begging to be hit instead. I looked at him with zero sympathy. I toss Evelyn aside, leap over to Mason, and grab his collar. He wants a beating, wish granted. In my past life, this fake brother secretly orchestrated my entire downfall. This time, there is no way I am letting him play the victim. You little stray mutt, I growl, channeling the dead grandmother's voice. You want a beating? Happy to oblige. I unleash a brutal hurricane of slaps across Mason's face. You eat Lancaster food, live in our house, spend our money, and show zero gratitude. How dare you resent the true heir, you ungrateful parasite. Smack, smack. Mason had never been hit like this. His parents never laid a finger on him, so he glares at me with pure hatred. But the second he meets my dead white eyes, a chill runs down his spine. Is this really Leo, or is it actually the dead grandmother? His burning hatred completely dissolves into sheer terror, and he loses all courage to fight back. I am not letting him off easy. I pull his face 2 inches from mine, letting him get a perfect look at my terrifying, lifeless eyes. You ungrateful leech! I slap him again so hard his lip splits open. Mason completely breaks, looking at Arthur for help, but his dad is covering his own head on the floor. He desperately looks at Evelyn, but she is just huddled in a corner, sobbing. Mason is utterly, completely alone. I keep slapping him until his face is bruised and swollen like a rotten plum. I only stop because I am worried any harder might give him a concussion and get me arrested. Now watch closely. I whip my head toward Chloe as she tries to crawl under the table. My terrifying gaze locks onto her, and her soul nearly leaves her body. After witnessing Mason's brutal beatdown, she has zero doubt this is a paranormal event. Grandma, I am so sorry. Chloe drops to her knees, crying hysterically. I should not have framed Leo. I should not have insulted him. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. She starts violently slapping her own face, sobbing uncontrollably. I actually pause, genuinely surprised. I did not expect her to be this proactive. Since she is doing my job for me, I leave her alone and hop toward Arthur. Chloe sighs in relief, while Arthur flinches violently as I approach. Mom, please do not hit me. I know I was wrong. I promise to treat Leo well from now on. I just give him a slow, deadpan stare. Then, I collapse backward, acting like I passed out. A few moments later, I slowly open my eyes and groan, pretending to be totally confused. Suddenly, my eyes widen as if memories are flooding back. I jump up, glaring at the battered family, screaming, "You guys really look down on me, do not you?" I resume my massive tantrum. Since you despise me so much, we are cutting ties right now. I am done. I pant heavily, looking absolutely furious. This family is absolutely terrified after surviving a paranormal beatdown. The oppressive aura of the dead grandmother still heavily hangs in the room. Arthur, swallowing his fear and pain, forces a smile and rushes to grab my arm. Leo, do not be rash. Please do not say that. We are family. How could we cut ties? Who says we look down on you? You are the Lancaster family's only biological son and our greatest treasure. I know what you are thinking, but watch how fast they fold. Arthur demands to know who dares look down on me, and Evelyn immediately rushes over, acting sweet. Your father is right. You are our treasure. Nobody looks down on you. She shoots desperate signals to Lily, Chloe, and Mason, who quickly join the chorus. We would never. Leo is our brother. We respect him. I point a finger directly at Lily, reminding everyone she just said I would embarrass them at the gala. Arthur does not hesitate. He marches to Lily and delivers 2 massive slaps. Lily's face, already swollen from the ghost beatdown, burns bright red. Tears stream down her cheeks, but she does not dare fight back, terrified of summoning the grandmother again. Lily, Arthur roars. How dare you disrespect Leo? He is the only son, worth 10 of you. Do you look down on him? Lily lowers her head, whispering, No, I misspoke. Arthur nods in satisfaction, turning to me with a strange smile. See, Leo, I disciplined your sister. She does not dare look down on you. Nobody does. Now, please calm down. Let us not talk about cutting ties. I sneer internally. I am not done yet. I suddenly point at Chloe. Chloe gasps, immediately drops to her knees, and starts slapping herself again. I am sorry, Leo. I was wrong. I will never disrespect you again. Arthur smiles. See, Leo? Everyone has learned their lesson now. Can you please stop being angry? I just look at him coldly. Then I point my finger directly at Mason. His eyes widen in horror. Big brother, I swear, I did not disrespect you. I sneer. Did not you just say you wanted to teach me how to behave? What gives an adopted kid the right to lecture the true heir? That is pure disrespect. Arthur wanted to see how Mason would defend himself, but seeing my anger flare up again, he does not risk it. He grabs Mason, slapping his already ruined face. Shut up and stop arguing, Arthur yells. Leo is right. Mason, you will fix your attitude. Smack, smack. Mason clutches his face, head down in silent fury. Arthur turns to me. Leo, everyone is disciplined. Are we good? I was not finished. I slowly turn my finger and point it directly at Evelyn. She freezes, completely shocked, with a complex mix of emotions flashing across her face. Then, she slowly raises her own hand and slaps herself a few times. Leo, Mommy was wrong, she whispers. I promise to treat you well. Please just calm down and do not scare Mommy like this. She turns to Arthur. Look, the whole family has been disciplined. Leo must be satisfied, right? I do not move, simply locking eyes with Arthur. His face turns completely dark as rage boils. This little bastard is seriously pushing his luck. He raises his hand to strike me, but Evelyn grabs his arm. Arthur, just give yourself a few light slaps to show him you are sincere. I knew this was Evelyn's petty revenge for making her slap herself. She was absolutely dragging her husband down with her. Arthur grits his teeth, slaps his own face, and bleeds. But trust me, you and I need to see what comes next. Alright, let's dive into the absolute craziest revenge plot you will see today. Our main character just reached his limit, and one wrong move ruins everything. I slowly stretch my arms, acting like I've calmed down. Fine, since you're all so terrified of me leaving that you'd slap yourselves to prove it, I guess I'll stay. I don't care about dying, but I won't drag you down with me. Hearing those words, the Lancaster family finally lets out a massive sigh of relief. Nobody's smiling though. They just stare at each other's bruised, swollen faces looking completely pathetic. I walk out and leave them to stew in their own humiliation. Back in their bedroom, Evelyn finally panics and asks Arthur if Leo was just faking it. His mother has been dead for 13 years, so how did her ghost just beat them half to death? Arthur collapses onto the bed, asking why she didn't speak up earlier. Why did you just stand there and let her trash you? Now that she has gone back to the afterlife, why even bring this up? Evelyn forces a tense smile. She was terrified earlier, but now it makes no sense. Why would a ghost return only to defend a kid like Leo? Arthur snaps back, saying his mother loved Leo the most. She died of a broken heart when he went missing, and seeing them treat him like garbage would absolutely bring her back. He sits up and glares right at her, reminding Evelyn that even if she favors Mason, Leo is still her biological son. If she keeps mistreating him, she'll summon the ghost again. Evelyn looks in the mirror at her swollen face, her entire heart burning with pure rage. She asks if they should hire a priest to investigate. Arthur narrows his eyes, but she quickly promises she won't target his mother's spirit. Now pay attention here, because she is about to cook up a scheme to lock his powers down before he summons something truly demonic. They need to suppress his abilities. Arthur pauses. Her logic actually makes sense. His mother might be harmless, but darker spirits are a whole different story. He tells her to handle it while he focuses on work. He also demands she cancel tomorrow's gala since their faces are ruined. A few days later, I walk back into the mansion after school and instantly sense that something is completely off. Mason had been completely silent all day, but now he is wearing a smug, malicious smile that basically screams your good days are officially over. I frown, knowing they are planning some kind of trap. Walking into the living room, I see Chloe sitting on the sofa. She had been ignoring me for days, but now she is smirking. Right then, Evelyn walks downstairs with a strange man trailing behind her. He is wearing full Taoist priest robes, sporting a long beard, bushy eyebrows, and carrying a wooden sword strapped to his back. He acts like some master of the mystic arts, but I see right through it. They hired a fake exorcist and probably paid him a fortune. Without saying a word, I sit down on the sofa to see what this clown can do. Evelyn leads the priest over with a fake smile. She introduces him as Master Castor, a famous spiritual leader hired to make protective talismans. But first, he apparently needs to inspect my current spiritual state. She tells me to cooperate so the charm actually works. I just nod with the most innocent smile. I play along and promise to be good. Evelyn looks thrilled, giving a thumbs up to Mason and Chloe, who look back in awe. I know what you're thinking. This is obviously a trap. And as the fake priest begins his show, our main character plays along perfectly. He checks me out, expecting the unhinged rebel Evelyn warned him about, but seeing me act so polite, he thinks this will be easy money. He draws his wooden sword and begins a ridiculous dance around me while chanting complete gibberish, occasionally waving the blade right in front of my face like a true performer. 5 minutes later, he stops, pulls a yellow paper talisman from his pocket, and lights it on fire. He drops the ashes into a bowl of water, waving it around and sprinkling drops on my head. Another 5 minutes pass like this. Finally, he hands me the bowl of ashy water with a fake smile, claiming it is special holy water that will ward off all evil and sickness. I lift the bowl to my lips. Evelyn, Chloe, and Mason stare at me with bated breath, their eyes wide with dark anticipation. The priest watches closely as I tilt the bowl back. They all finally exhale in relief, but that peace lasts exactly 1 second. Suddenly, the bowl shatters on the floor. I collapse to the ground, clutching my stomach and screaming in absolute agony. Evelyn jumps up, pale with shock. She only paid him to slip me a mild sedative to make me docile, not to poison me. She glares at Castor in pure rage. He is equally panicked, wondering why a simple sedative is causing such a lethal reaction. While they panic, I suddenly spring up and sprint straight into the bathroom. Everyone lets out a massive sigh of relief. They think it just gave me diarrhea, but what they didn't know is that I didn't swallow a single drop. It was all a complete act. A few minutes later, I quietly slip out carrying a massive basin filled with a nasty, diluted yellow cocktail of toilet water and waste. I creep back to the living room where they are all happily chatting, totally unaware. Without a second thought, I hurl the liquid forward. Splash! The disgusting yellow soup drenches all 4 of them from head to toe, and an absolutely foul stench instantly fills the room. They freeze in shock before the horrific smell hits them, instantly shrieking and pinching their noses. Looking at the chunky liquid dripping from their hair, Evelyn instantly recognizes what it is from a past trauma, and her face turns completely white. It's feces. All 4 of them gag violently as I stand at a safe distance, laughing my head off at their misery. So, what do you and I make of this legendary payback? I guess sharing is caring, but trust me, this toxic family's absolute worst nightmare is only just starting. Let's dive in. I sarcastically asked for a thank you, but they just glared with pure rage. Evelyn tried to scream, but yellow sewer water dripped from her hair right onto her lips. Her eyes went wide, and she immediately turned around and puked all over their incredibly expensive living room rug. The rest of the family couldn't stand the absolute stench. Pinching their noses, they scattered like roaches. Mason and Chloe bolted upstairs to their private suites, while Castor sprinted straight for the downstairs guest bathroom. But what he didn't know was that I was already steps ahead. As soon as he rushed inside, I slammed the door and jammed a heavy mop handle through the handles, locking him in. Then I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. Yes, officer. A home intruder just broke in and tried to poison me with illegal drugs. Hearing me call the police, Castor completely panicked. He threw himself against the door, but the lock held firm. Young Master Leo, he screamed desperately. Please let me out. I am so sorry. I should never have listened to Madame Evelyn. Meanwhile, I just leaned against the wall, casually scrolling on my phone. Wait, drug me? Master Castor, you said it was holy water. If it is so holy, why are you scared? Just explain it all to the cops. You did nothing wrong, right? Castor started sobbing inside, begging. Leo, please, it wasn't holy water. It was just dirty toilet water and burnt ashes. It would not hurt you. Seriously. Do I look stupid? I scoffed. Suddenly, loud sirens wailed outside, and I quickly welcomed 2 officers into our house. Now, watch closely, because this is where the trap's shut. I pointed to the bathroom, handing them a bag of the drugged water I had secretly saved. This is the poison he tried to feed me. Please test it. The officers nodded, looking extremely serious. They opened the locked door and dragged a soaking, smelly Castor out. Even though he was covered in putrid waste, the cops cuffed him professionally. I silently thanked the police, but as they prepared to leave, I looked at innocently. She hired him, so she is an accomplice, right? The officers exchanged looks, clearly stunned by a kid trying to get his own mother thrown in jail. Leo, it sounds like your mother was actually scammed herself. We will take this suspect down to the station for questioning. If she is innocent, she won't be charged if she cooperates. I sighed, disappointed. I really wanted to see Evelyn in handcuffs, but she got lucky. Right then, Evelyn walked down the stairs. She had cleaned up, changed her clothes, and done her makeup. Glaring at me, she looked ready to rip my throat out. But then she spotted the police dragging Castor out the front door. She instantly froze, absolute panic in her eyes, asking if I called them. Her voice trembled. Yes, I smiled coldly. Scammers selling toxic fake drugs belong behind bars. Otherwise, they will just keep hurting innocent people. Right, Mom? I stared her down. Every parasite gets exactly what they deserve. Evelyn trembled with fury, but could not say a word with the cops right there. As she turned to run back upstairs, I yelled out that she still smelled like an open sewer. Evelyn tripped, nearly falling down the stairs. Watching her embarrassing retreat, I laughed out loud. 2 days later, the official lab results arrived. Okay, let's pause for a second, because this is terrifying. That water contained a chemical designed to make me permanently brain damaged and obedient. Unbelievably, she got away clean. The police believed her lie that she thought she was buying a blessing and knew nothing about the toxin. Still, she didn't get off completely free. When Arthur found out, he was absolutely livid at her sheer stupidity. To protect his family name, he kept it quiet, but packed his bags and moved into a hotel for a few days. But everyone knew the real reason. No matter how much she showered, Arthur claimed she still smelled like toxic sewage, and it made him physically sick. Evelyn now hated me with a burning rage. When Saturday's corporate gala arrived, Arthur came back home just to keep up appearances for the media, but he kept a solid 10-foot distance from her, sitting on the opposite side of the room while occasionally wrinkling his nose in disgust. Evelyn was seething but stayed quiet. Suddenly, an annoying, loud voice yelled from the front door. In walked a shady, arrogant guy with heavy dark circles and a sickly posture. It was Evelyn's useless younger brother, Uncle Eugene. Evelyn smiled instantly. She loved this absolute deadbeat because he always did all her dirty work. In my past life, whenever Evelyn complained, this trash uncle would use his status as an elder to beat me. Now, as I walked downstairs, Eugene saw me and instantly scowled. Leo, you brat, you do not even greet your uncle. Orphans have zero manners. Arthur frowned, but stayed completely silent. Evelyn felt victorious, thinking someone was finally putting me in my place. Lily and Chloe watched, hoping for a fight. I paused on the stairs and smiled. In my past life, this absolute scumbag loved bossing me around, but his wildly reckless lifestyle caught up to him, and he died from an incurable disease. You want to start trouble today? Perfect. Let us collect some serious interest on that old debt. I walked toward him, and when I got close, I suddenly tripped and fell directly into him. He panicked and tried to dodge, but I desperately reached out to grab anything to break my fall, catching his belt and pulling down with everything I had. His pants and underwear were instantly yanked to his ankles. Suddenly, an ungodly, sickening smell filled the room, and the horrified family stared right at the source. The sight was absolutely grotesque. His skin was covered in a horrific, highly contagious disease that literally looked like rotting cauliflower. Oh my God, they all screamed. Covering their noses, they turned pale and scrambled backward as fast as they could. They completely lost it, grabbed industrial disinfectant, and aggressively sprayed each other. And trust me, you and I cannot wait to see what happens next. You and I are starting this wild ride with Mason screaming in disgust as Eugene's face turns green. Unable to even pull up his pants, he crab-walked behind the couch to hide, but that just spread the horrific smell everywhere. Everyone stared right at his exposed skin while some literally started throwing up. Behind that sofa, Eugene was absolutely shaking with pure rage. His most embarrassing and highly disgusting secret was now fully broadcast to his whole family. Now he was a total biohazard to them. He glared at me with pure hatred, silently screaming that I did this on purpose. He wanted to kill me, raising a fist to charge, but he remembered his pants were still down around his ankles with a massive tear. So he froze, completely trapped and raging behind that couch. Meanwhile, I stood up, dusting off my hands like a total angel. I played completely dumb, asking what he meant. But then I pinched my nose and yelled that whatever he had was absolutely revolting. I asked if it was contagious, immediately sending the entire family into a total panic. Now, pay attention to my brilliant acting here as I accuse him of trying to infect us with his disease. Eugene shook with fury, desperately stuttering that his doctor said it would clear up soon and that it was not contagious at all. He claimed I was framing him, but Arthur had heard enough, yelling at Eugene to get out of the house immediately. Eugene was shocked, but Arthur did not care. Contagious or not, he was disgusting and had to leave. He begged his sister Evelyn with his eyes, but she just backed away and completely refused to even look at him. Her heart was ice cold while the kids stood 10 feet away, spraying themselves with Lysol and ignoring him, knowing that absolutely nobody, not even his own sister, was going to save him now. Dying of embarrassment, Eugene pulled up his ripped pants with one hand and limped out the door. The entire family let out a massive sigh of relief, feeling like they just survived a toxic spill. Arthur ordered the butler to throw out the couch and disinfect the whole room. They all glared at me because they knew I pulled his pants down on purpose. I just gave them a casual shrug. Why the dirty looks? If I had not done that, you would have never known his gross secret and ended up as his sick hospital buddies. You should be thanking me instead of blaming me. Talk about absolute ingratitude. That thought of being hospital buddies terrified them, so they quickly ran upstairs to change their clothes and spray heavy perfume. The 3 p.m. event was still on, and the Lancaster corporate gala officially started right on time. The room was completely packed with wealthy elites in fancy suits and gorgeous gowns as the Lancaster family stood at the entrance greeting every single VIP with big, fake smiles. I know what you're thinking. Shouldn't I be mingling? Nope. I just grabbed some food and chilled alone in the corner with my phone. Soon, a chubby, sharp-looking older businessman walked in alongside a truly stunning young woman. This was Richard Winston, boss of Heaven and Earth Corporation, and his daughter Valerie. The Lancasters rushed over to greet them. Both families had been secretly planning a marriage alliance for months, specifically setting up Mason and Valerie. While talking, Valerie spotted me relaxing on the couch and instantly scowled, her voice dripping with pure disgust. She asked why they let a trash picker like me into a high-level event, questioning if I even deserved to breathe their air. I just looked up and locked eyes with Mason. If only she knew that Mason probably already had a secret blackmail folder fully prepared just for her. His phone was definitely packed with wild, scandalous photos of this supposedly pure girl. The Lancasters just forced awkward, fake smiles. No one defended me since they agreed I was a total embarrassment. But Richard, being a smart businessman, noticed the tension. To avoid any drama, he quickly quieted his daughter. Soon, Arthur took the stage and gave a charismatic speech to massive applause. Next was Mason, who walked up with his head held high, looking like a confident and brilliant young businessman. This was his big test to impress the billionaire investors, and Mason on stage was absolutely commanding. The crowd whispered that he was a brilliant young man with a limitless future, destined to take over the entire empire despite being adopted. Richard and Valerie watched proudly from the front row, confident they had chosen the perfect son-in-law. While everyone was distracted by his speech, I snuck backstage to the projector laptop while the tech guy was not looking. I pulled out his flash drive, plugged in my phone, found his hidden folder of secret photos, and set them to autoplay. Trust me, you and I are going to love this part as I hook it up, while Mason confidently finishes his speech to a silent crowd. But then, the crowd's faces instantly shifted from pure admiration to total horror and absolute shock. Dozens of people grabbed their phones to record, while Mason smiled, thinking he won. But then he saw their angry faces. They were completely pale, looking absolutely furious. Jumping straight out of their seats, they charged the stage to destroy him. From the front row, the family started screaming in sheer panic to turn off that screen immediately. All right, you and I are about to watch the most satisfying downfall ever. Mason turns around to the giant LED screen, expecting business charts but sees scandalous photos instead. The star of this slideshow, Valerie Winston. She was shown highly intoxicated, posing compromisingly with a long line of different men. Instantly, the ballroom erupted in absolute chaos as shocked guests screamed out her name. People realized she is the Winston heiress. Their arranged marriage with the Lancasters was now completely dead in the water. Valerie stared in horror, her knees buckling as she hit the floor. She always saw herself as high society, dismissing her wild partying as just harmless fun. But now, her dirtiest secrets were playing in high definition for the city's entire elite class. Her reputation was completely destroyed. Richard Winston was absolutely purple with pure rage. As a ruthless businessman, he had no clue how to fix this. Mason stood frozen as his blood ran cold. Those photos were his secret weapon to blackmail Valerie later. How did they get up there? How did this end up on the main screen? But before he could even process the disaster, a massive fist slammed into his jaw. Crack! Richard stormed the stage, roaring in absolute fury. He screamed at Mason, demanding to know why he would humiliate his family in front of everyone. Richard vowed to beat him to death. Mason hit the floor dazed, but since he was young and fit, he quickly stood back up. He scrambled up to defend himself, and soon, the older CEO and the golden boy were trading wild punches. But Richard was losing steam fast. Now, watch closely here. Evelyn was about to stop them, but once she saw her son winning, she just stood back and watched coldly. Suddenly, Valerie let out a terrifying, blood-curdling scream. She grabbed a heavy metal centerpiece, ran up, and smashed it straight into the laptop. The screen finally went black, but it was too late. Dozens of guests had already saved the photos on their phones. The damage was done. Valerie dropped to her knees, sobbing hysterically, before screaming that it was all his fault and launching herself at him. Vowing to kill him, she joined her father in throwing wild, vicious kicks. With the 2-on-1 advantage, they quickly overpowered him completely on stage. He curled into a ball on the floor, shielding his head from the raining kicks, while the wealthy crowd watched with absolute delight and whispered. They gossiped about how the supposedly pure Winston girl was actually a total wreck, though she had a great figure. Others noted how ruthless Mason was for leaking her photos. He completely trapped her family. They all agreed that this kid was too dangerous to associate with. You and I both know who's really behind this. I'm just leaning against a pillar, snapping high-res photos of Mason getting destroyed. Staring at the masterpiece gallery in my phone, I chuckled. Mason is finished. The Winstons will want his head on a spike. On stage, Mason was a bloody, swollen mess. But Richard and Valerie still weren't satisfied, gearing up for even more vicious kicks. Arthur and Evelyn finally rushed up to hold them back. Arthur screamed at Richard to stop hitting him. He pleaded to sit down and talk it out, but Richard just sneered and spat right on the floor. He accused them of raising a psychopath. Valerie glared at Arthur with pure hatred, warning him that this was far from over. She threatened that they would pay if they didn't get answers, before the Winstons grabbed their things and stormed out. Arthur watched them leave with a bitter smile. As a parent, he knew Richard's fury was 100% justified. Back at the mansion, Arthur unleashed his absolute fury directly on Mason. Glaring at Mason's bruised, bandaged face, Arthur roared that he was deeply disappointed. He had destroyed all investments and expectations despite being handed the perfect platform. A simple speech would have secured his entire future. Instead, to satisfy a petty grudge, he broadcast Valerie's private photos to the world. He didn't just humiliate their own family, he made a deadly enemy out of the Winstons. What was he thinking? Wincing in pain, Mason desperately tried to defend himself. He pleaded that his presentation was normal and he'd never be stupid enough to ruin Valerie publicly. He insisted he had been set up, and Evelyn immediately stepped in to back him up. She agreed it was clear sabotage, but when Arthur demanded to know who did it, Mason froze in sheer panic. His eyes darted around until he suddenly pointed a shaking finger right at me in the corner, blaming me entirely. He claimed I was jealous of his spotlight and framed him. He pointed out that while everyone else tried to save him on stage, I was nowhere to be found. Evelyn instantly glared at me with absolute fury, demanding to know how I could treat my own brother like this. I just blinked innocently and pointed at myself, asking if they actually had any real proof against me. Without proof, it's just slander. Mason laughed coldly like a cornered animal, demanding that I prove my own innocence instead. Arthur's suspicious gaze slowly shifted directly to me. Normally, he believed my innocence, but my recent wild actions made me look highly guilty to him. After all, I had just extorted $500,000 from them, so this sabotage was completely believable. I just chuckled, suggesting a little game. If I can prove my innocence right now, what is my payout, Mason? Mason gritted his teeth, promising $500,000 from his savings, plus his entire monthly allowance if he was wrong. If I fail, I am guilty. Stick around to see how this unfolds. All right, you and I are about to watch the ultimate bet go down. If you lose, kneel and apologize to the Winstons, pay me $500,000, and surrender your allowance forever. Hearing this, I grinned. Deal. A man's word is his bond, no backing out. But seeing my radiant, confident smile, a sudden, terrible sense of dread washed over Mason. He instantly regretted agreeing to this in front of Arthur, but if he backed down now, his credibility with his boss would be completely shattered. Smirking, I pulled out my phone and opened my gallery. Look closely, Mason. Here is my ironclad, undeniable alibi. I flipped the screen around. It was a crystal clear photo of Richard Winston repeatedly punching Mason, with a foot planted on his stomach, while Valerie stomped directly on his head. It was an incredibly brutal, humiliating shot. Mason's face turned pale as a sheet as he stared at the screen, trembling. I swiped again. The next one showed Richard pulling Mason by the hair, winding up an uppercut, while Valerie stepped on his ankle like putting out a cigarette. Pay attention here, because it gets even worse. As I swipe again, Mason nearly cracks his teeth seeing Richard stomping on his hand while Valerie kicks him. Every single photo beautifully documented the process of Mason getting absolutely destroyed. Shot from multiple highly artistic angles, it was pure masterpiece. Leo, you stood right below the stage, watching me get beaten half to death, and just took dozens of photos. Why didn't you stop them? You are a monster. I calmly slipped my phone back into my pocket. Well, this proves I was in the audience. You just didn't notice me because you were a little preoccupied. So, Mason, admit it. You falsely accused me. I stretched lazily and held out my hand. Oh, right. Hand over the $500,000. At this, Mason suffered a complete mental collapse. You watched me get thrashed, took pictures, and now you want $500,000? Leo, do you have no soul? I shrugged, looking completely bored. I know what you're thinking, absolute savage. Right. I just tell him a bet is a bet, while Mason's eyes turn so red he looks ready to cry blood. He was furious to the point of exploding. Just then, I tilted my head, flashed a wicked smile, and delivered the final, fatal blow. By the way, Mason, aside from playing the clown today, do you also have a side gig as a punching bag? What did you say? Mason roared, lunging off the sofa toward me in a blind rage, but his battered, bruised body couldn't handle the sudden movement. He lost his balance, stumbled, and face-planted spectacularly back onto the cushions. The sight was so incredibly pathetic, I burst into hysterical laughter. Mason, you seriously look like a flipped turtle right now. Hearing that, blood rushed to Mason's head. He tried scrambling up, but his awkwardly flailing limbs only made him look exactly like a turtle stuck on its shell. And that's where we leave it. Even Arthur couldn't keep a straight face.